All right, I'll call the Common Council meeting on May 10th, 2022 to order at 7:31. First up is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Alder Allen.
Present.
Alder Rada-Frada.
Here.
Alder Gerhardt.
Here.
Alder Herbst.
Here.
Alder Maldonado.
Here.
Mayor Richardson.
Here.
Alder Strassman.
Here.
Alder Udell.
Here.
Alder Wheeler.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, we've got a proclamation to start things off here about a few different items, all relating to biking. We are recognizing May 2022 as National Bike Month, May 16th, 2022 as National Ride to Work Day, and June 4th through 11th, 2022 as Wisconsin Bike Week. Whereas the bicycle is an economical, healthy, convenient, and environmentally sound form of transportation, an excellent tool for recreation and enjoyment of Fitchburg's scenic beauty. And whereas Fitchburg was recognized by the League of American Bicyclists as a bronze bicycle-friendly community in 2012, and a silver BFC in 2015 and 2019. And whereas in 1956, the League of American Bicyclists established May as National Bike Month and designated May 16, 2022 as National Ride to Work Day, the Wisconsin Bike Fed has declared June 4 through 11 as Wisconsin Bike Week in 2022. And whereas Fitchburg's comfortable, low-stress system of trails, paths, and on-road bicycle facilities, including the unique Velo Underground, the confluence of 5 state and regional trails, attracts bicyclists from a multi-state region each year, provide economic, health, transportation, tourism, and scenic benefits. And whereas creating a bicycling-friendly community improves residents' health, well-being, and quality of life, grows the economy of Fitchburg, attracting tourists, improves traffic safety, supports student learning or outcomes, and reduces pollution, congestion, and wear and tear on our streets and roads. And whereas Bike Fitchburg, the Fitchburg Chamber of Visitors and Business Bureau, the Wisconsin Bike Fed, the Bike League, and many other organizations will be promoting bicycling during May, June 4 through 11, 2022, and year-round to attract more visitors to enjoy our local restaurants, hotels, retailers, and cultural and scenic attractions. And whereas these groups are also promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and providing safety education to reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities, and improve health and safety for everyone on the road. Now therefore, I, Aaron Richardson, Mayor of Fitchburg, Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim May as Bike Month, May 16 as Ride to Work Day, and June 4 through 11 as Bike Week in 2022 in the city of Fitchburg, and urge all residents to begin or continue a bike riding habit, support bicycling in Fitchburg and throughout our region for all its economic, safety, transportation, and health benefits. Proclaim this 10th day of May, 2022.
Well read.
And would you like to say a few words? I know that, I mentioned that we're now a silver community and we're trying for gold. Hopefully later this year we get some good news on that, but why don't you go ahead?
Hi, I'm Steve Arnold, and I'm appearing this evening to accept this proclamation, a copy of it, on behalf of the Bike Fed, where I'm secretary, and Bike Fitchburg, where I'm treasurer. And it makes me proud to live in Fitchburg with all the things that the city and the business community and the residents have done to support biking. Even today, you may have run into closed lanes on Fish Hatchery Road as we put the finishing touches on that reconstruction with green paint on crosswalks and left turn boxes. So the city has been a tremendous support. We're really proud to be here, and we thank you for your support. And will you be riding your bike to work on Monday?
I gotta go all the way to Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Probably not.
So, but Monday is Bike to Work Day, and we encourage everyone to ride to work who works. I'm retired, so I'll take a ride someplace else. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. I do not have anything else for non-agenda items, it looks like. So I can move along to consent agenda. Is there a motion? Moved by Jay,
Second.
seconded by Randy. Anything that someone wants to separate out on the consent agenda? Seeing nothing. Oh, Gabriella, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Item 2, PP 245122.
All right. Anything else? Seeing nothing else, then all in favor of approving everything except for C2, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right. And then go ahead, Gabriella, on preliminary plat here.
Yeah, I'd like to refer that to tree advisory.
Can I ask why you want to set the tree advisory?
Yeah, my understanding is that lot has quite a lot of trees, and I think it's good for the tree advisory to be taking a look at some plan commission things in the context of thinking about from a tree perspective. So I don't necessarily want to change the refer back date if that's the issue. I just want the tree advisor to have the opportunity to discuss it.
Okay, yeah, I guess that'd be one concern. I guess the other is just that it's not anything to do with developing the site. It's really just separating it out so they can sell it to someone else. If someone develops it, at that point in time, it would come back to the city. But we can do it, I guess, just especially if it's not making any difference on when it refers back. So.
Yeah, I guess I'll move to refer to tree advisory without changing the return by date.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? All right, that is also approved. Randy, did you have something?
Yes, I want to move 7C2. Find it here. It's resolution R-76-22. Move it up further in the agenda.
To when? Right now?
Right now would be fine, yes.
All right, is there a second to that?
Second.
All right, seconded by Jay. And do you have it's not really a something you can comment on or discuss. Okay. All right, then all in favor of moving up resolution R-76-22, say aye.
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 And opposed? All right, that will be next then. And did you have a question, Julia?
Yes, I would like to move resolution R-45-22 up to.
To where?
At the beginning, because we have a lot of people and on
So after the
after the
Veterans Park?
the veterans, yeah, it's fine.
The Veterans Park? Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jay. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. Yep. Yeah, we do have some business people who will now be waiting quite a long time. All right. So next up would be the Veterans Park then. And it looks like it's parks. So Julia, do you want to do a motion for this one?
Yes, I move approval of resolution R-76-22, the letter of support for Fitchburg Veterans Park, United States Army donation program application.
Second.
Signed by Jay. Did Parks approve?
Yes, we approve it.
Did Finance approve?
Finance approved.
All right. Do you want to speak to this, Julia?
Yes, and I think, Tom, you're going to speak too? Okay. So this is a resolution that, as you know, the Veteran Memorial Park, they have a volunteer group that continues to work improving the Gorman Whiteside Park. They are considering the placement of a piece of military equipment in the park. So, so the city is already draft a letter of support. We don't know exactly what type of equipment will be, but this is what I have. Tom, you can explain that a little bit more. That's it. And it was approved in park, so.
All right. We've got Tom Clouder here that wishes to speak on this. Go ahead, Tom. And this is just for a reminder for everyone for all the items tonight that we do ask people in the public to stay within 3 minutes. You do that? You good on that? All right.
I know how you work.
All right. Thank you.
I got it. Thanks for moving it up, Julia and Randy. Appreciate it. Tom Clutter, 2583 Norwood Street, City of Fitchburg, longtime resident. What you have before you, folks, is the U.S. Army application for heavy equipment. And what we decided in at the veterans meeting, in one of our meetings, was to get a piece of military equipment. We don't know what, so we decided to fill out this application, send it into the U.S. Army. I want to make it clear, they wouldn't tell us what it is. They keep that very close to the vest, so we don't know if it's a tank or a helicopter or what it is. And so the deal is we could spend $15,000 or $20,000 to get this piece of equipment, or we could apply for it. And we chose the latter. We chose to apply for it, and we'll see what happens. Just so the alders know, I did have a conversation with the city administrator, the city attorney, and they advised me to take it to these committees, which I did. So it's gone through these committees, finance, parks, and city council. I want to make it real clear that whatever we receive, you'll be the first to know. And I've had a couple of people call me on this and say, well, where are you going to put it? We don't have it yet. So we'll deal with that at the time, but we won't put it in the greenway. That's not our thought. Just to let you know, and I'm going to end with this, we did order a bench for the top. That would be the north end of the Veterans Park, up on top. We ordered a 4-seat bench, so our veterans that walk up there with a cane, a walker, or just have trouble walking, they at least could sit down. And we do want to put flags up, the American flag, the POW flag, and the state flag. And that would be right at the beginning, right at the front entrance by that big monument, which I think will really set this park out when you go by. I think it will really stand out. I just want you to know as a council that everywhere I've gone and the other members of the committee, it's been positive. We haven't had too many people. I haven't had anyone, no one in this entire city say this is a dumb idea. Why are you doing this? And for the alders that haven't been there, 4 of the alders already heard the speech. If you haven't been there, please take a time, walk through it, go up there. If you have a question, just let me know. Give us a call. We'll be happy to meet you up there or answer it. But as some of the past mayors in this room know, now that I look around it, for 50 years it hadn't been touched. No one touched this park besides the statue that was there by the statue that was there. If you don't know, that was a Marine that died in Vietnam. With that said, thanks for the time, thanks for the support, but I think we're going in the right direction.
Thank you. I also have Mike Croft, who is registered in support of the above matter, who lives in Fitchburg as well. And that is what I have for public comments. Questions, comments from council members? All right, seeing none, we can go to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Julie, do you want to?
Yes, I need to ask you a favor, Mayor. Can we move up a resolution, Plan Commission A1?
Okay, so do that one and then.
Before the
do
hub, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so that's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jay. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right. Back to plan, actually, technically we have administrator's report. Well, let's do administrative information first. That's not important. All right, we have.
I second that.
Randy, do you want to do a motion for the first plan commission item?
Motion to approve Resolution R-93-22, updating memorandum. I'm sorry, I'm jumping to finance. Motion to approve the preliminary plat request PP 2447-2 by Terrell Walter, agent for Nine Springs Hills, Inc., for approval for a preliminary plat that would create 19 parcels, of which 14 would be buildable. Approval of the preliminary plat would allow the mixed-use development between County Road MM and Highway 14.
All right. Is there a second? Seconded by Jay. Did Plan Commission approve?
Plan Commission approved.
Did Parks approve? All right. Would you like to turn it over to our applicants, or would you like to say something first?
No, I'd like to just turn it over to the applicants since they're already
right.
seated.
We got Brian and Kevin here. Go
right.
ahead, take it away.
Yes, well, thank you. Just to be very brief, would like to pass on apologies for Terrell. I could not join us today because he had a baby, so he's otherwise occupied and will be for a while. However, tonight we're here with a preliminary plat. This is consistent with the adopted GIP for this project and the next step in the process towards implementation. We continue to work closely on the items that were discussed at this body last time and look forward to bringing the SIP submittals and the final plats back through the approval process as quickly as we can. So again, very consistent with all the plans that have been previously discussed, so happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions or comments at all? All right. Seeing none, we can go ahead to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right. That's
Thank you.
Easy enough. Thank you. All right. Now we'll go to the Hub Park C2 or C1. I mean, Julie, do you want to do a motion for this one?
Okay. I move approval of resolution R-45-22, approving North Fish Hatchery Road Hub Phase 1. It's located in the north side of Tracy Drive. The final design.
Second.
Signed by Joe. Did Healthy Neighborhoods approve?
Yes.
All right. Did Park Commission approve?
Yes.
Did Finance approve?
Finance deferred to council.
All right. And do you want to present, Julia? Do you want
I will
staff
turn
to?
off to Wade and Scott.
All right.
I think the council already, we have so many presentations with this project, so.
Yeah, hello, council, and I guess I can either give a quick summary of the resolution or just take questions as needed, so whatever the council prefers.
If you just want, if there's anything quick you want to add, I know we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, again, just 4 options before you, in terms of hub phase 1 final design, kind of a high cost, a middle cost, and a lower cost. And then there's an opportunity to kind of create your own option D. That's essentially what Parks and H&I Committee did. So, and they, I believe, recommended everything as designed with the exception of no ice rink. And that also does include a full cover of that outdoor structure. And Scott, I don't know if you have anything to add as well.
All right. And I should clarify, Julia, your motion, did you move to approve the original design? Option D, it sounds like, that the other groups
Yes,
did with
so,
no ice rink. Which one did you move?
Okay, so if I need to speak from Park and Healthy Neighborhood, we are looking for approval of option D.
Okay, so that one is no ice rink. So,
No ice rink.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, so that's the motion is no ice rink. All right. Great. And Scott had nothing else. I will open up. We got a lot of citizen comments, and so I'll start with people who are here. First, I've got Elizabeth Cox, and then Melanie Sacks will be after that. Come on up.
Hi, Elizabeth Cox, 3018 Yarmouth Greenway Drive, number 208. So I live in District 2. I wander around this neighborhood quite commonly where this would be located. I've lived here 22 years, and I'm a pediatrician. I just want to talk a little bit about the opportunity that you have before you tonight. As a physician, I work my tail off all the time to improve the health of our kids and our families. But the reality is that a lot of that I really can't do. You guys have the opportunity in front of you tonight to make an incredible impact on the lives of lots of kids and families in that neighborhood, one of the most diverse neighborhoods in all of Dane County. As a pediatrician, I also walk through that quite commonly and really notice how many kids play in the street. I grew up on a farm where I was lucky enough to have ample green space. In fact, I remember the realtor driving me through Fitchburg after seeing many, many condos all over this county. And I drove by that place with the Nature Conservancy in the back, and I went, there. I want to live right there. And that worked out for me, but it was because I had so much green space. And that's what I love about Fitchburg. That community has nothing in the way of green space or park space at all. Also, just speaking to cost, we know the cost of this has gone up. If any of you've built anything, bought anything, that's just reality. But it's going to keep going up. This is our opportunity now to do this. I'm on the Healthy Neighborhoods Committee. I want to just speak briefly to why we talked about the roof over the hard court. We have so many days out of the year that we can't really use a space that's outdoor without a roof. In fact, it amounts to about 80 days out of the year that we couldn't use the space very well if we don't have that. So that, to me, is a critical piece of this. And I think I just urge you to say yes to this tonight, to make an investment in our kids and our families, and particularly in that neighborhood that has just suffered sorely from not enough investment. So that's all I have to say. I don't know how long I'm over, but thank you so much for listening.
All right, not over at all. All right, I have Melanie next, and then Jean Musser after that.
I'll take off my duck mask for right now so you can hear me. I'm Melanie Sacks. I live on Sentinel Pass in Fitchburg. And I just wanted to speak in support of Hub Park also, specifically the Parks Commission option for Hub Park. I think with global warming, ice rinks, I don't know. But anyway, many of the other parts of the plan seem really, really good to me. The North Fish Hatchery Corridor needs a place to encourage residents to get to know each other and to connect through playing and picnicking and celebrating, just having a neutral place to meet with each other. And of course, we all know a stronger community, if you have a hub, you will have a stronger community of people getting to know each other, is a safer community. Because if we know each other better, we'll have each other's backs. I live only a few blocks from Allied Drive neighborhood, which is has a similar demographic to the Hub Park, area. The majority of the population earns a lower income, and many are in multifamily housing. As a mom who had a couple of rambunctious kids in an apartment, I really got to deeply value any open space that I could take my kids to, and any parks and playground equipment. And I didn't have to go through COVID, so I can only imagine what it has been like in the last couple of years. I did realize that these two communities, I'm thinking of the Allied Drive Duns Marsh area and the North Fish Hatchery corridor, they also have another thing that they share in common, in that the kids living there are split between several different elementary schools. When I worked at Thoreau for 10 years, I was really surprised to find out that some kids were bused over from the North Fish Hatchery corridor to Thoreau. That was true for Allied Drive, too. It's separated like that. I mention this because I think teachers and other families, if you know the teachers and the other families in the school that your kids go to, it builds a huge community, and it's really important for the community. But if you're in a neighborhood where some of the kids across the street are maybe going to a different school and things are getting cut up, you need a community, some kind of a hub, some kind of a place to meet even more than if you all went to the same school. Across the street from my house is Marlboro Park, and everybody in the extended neighborhood uses it. I know it's a Madison Park, but a lot of Fitchburg families use it, and in almost any kind of weather, you'll see little kids on the playground. It doesn't really matter for them.
I'm sorry, you're at your 3 minutes.
Oh,
I hate
okay.
this part. Sorry. We
Anyway,
gotta-
please support. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have Jean, and then I don't think Tony Hartman's actually here to speak, so after that will be Steve Arnold.
Set my stopwatch. Gene Musser is my name. I'm a cardiologist, retired from work for UW School of Medicine and Public Health at Meyer for 40 or so years. I'm currently a member of the Board of Health of Madison and Dane County. I'm not here representing the board, which hasn't taken a position about any of this, but here representing myself in support of the proposal for the hub as the Parks Committee has proposed. I live at 5824 Dolly Drive, which is in Harlan Hills. Dave Herbst and Joe Maldonado are my alders now. And although this park really would have nothing to do with my personal life, I'm not going to use it. My family's not likely to use it, given where I live, but it has everything to do with what I think of Fitchburg should be as a city. Municipal governments exist for purposes of services. We all know the list of what those might be. It includes, I think, recreation and allowing citizens to have reasonable opportunities to participate in outdoor recreation. We've got parks scattered through the city, as you know. We have a Parks Commission. There's no park in this region, and has never been one. Today I rode my bike down toward Paola and back. I rode on the Capital City Trail, the Badger State Trail, the Cannonball, and the Connector. I rode over Steve's beautiful bridge going over McKee Road, and I said, well, I thank you, whoever paid for that. And I suspect that a lot of the taxpayers who put up money for that don't have bikes. They've never ridden a bike, and they're never going to ride a bike. But they were kind enough to provide me with that route. So although I'm not going to use this park, I would be happy to have my tax money go toward the creation of this park. I think the absence of a park is a glaring omission for this city. John Kennedy used to look at things and say, why not? And I say, why isn't there a park there? And as is often the case, I think, in this country, it comes down to class and race in part, why there's been an omission there over the years. I think this council has a tremendous opportunity to right the wrong by creating this park. The argument is always, well, it's going to be too expensive. Well, it's not going to get any cheaper, as we know. Elizabeth mentioned that. Secondly, if it's important, which I think it is and which it should be to you all, and if it therefore is a priority to you all, then it's not too expensive. And you can find a way to find the money to pay for the park. Appreciate you listening to me. I'll give you back my 25 seconds.
All right, thank you. All right, I've got Steve Arnold next and David Halford after that.
Before my 3 minutes starts, I would just like to say that Tony Hartman will be here in
He's right
time.
here right now. He's right behind you.
All right, then I can start my 3 minutes. I'm in awe of the previous speakers, so well prepared and such good reasons. I will speak briefly to the bicycle and all-wheels track facility that will be a highlight, regional draw into this neighborhood that will help build our community socially. I support option D as proposed by the Park Commission. I would like an ice rink, but maybe we won't have that. But the all-wheels track will complement the one in Leopold Park, which is bicycles only. It will have some natural surfaces and hard surfaces, and those two facilities are being designed in a coordinated way so they complement each other and not duplicate each other. So the last thing I would ask the council to do is to do everything in your power to keep this on a fast timeline. Really, the neighbors that need those parks can't wait. They've been without for so long, and the benefits will be immediate once the hub opens. So I urge you to support that option. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I've got David and then Brian Poole after that.
Hi, I'm David Halford. I live at 2621 Tarpelwick Drive in Fitchburg. My comments are not indicating anything against the hub project. My comments are designed to bring reason to the funding process for the hub project. The original budget for this project was $2,688,000. You have before you, I believe, 4 options, A, B, C, D. 3 of those options involve borrowing. The most expensive option, you're borrowing over $1.7 million. Option B, you're borrowing, I believe, $444,000 or something, or $470,000, my mistake. C is the only option where you're not borrowing to fund the project. And it's the only option given to you that is within the parameters of funds available to pay for the cost. Option D, which is before you, is a recommended option by the Parks Commission, has a borrowing requirement of $967,000. That's 80% over budget in terms of the cost. The cost of option D is $4,849,000 versus the $2,688,000 budget. That's 80% over budget. If you look at the items involved, the covering of the hard court is a big item. It's $807,000. So if you include the 10% design cost associated with it, 10% contingency costs associated with it, you're pretty much up to the $967,000 that's going to be borrowed. In other words, you're borrowing to do a full cover of the hard court. In an era where we've just entered a long period of time with low interest rates, and given where things are going with finances pretty much throughout the United States, interest rates are probably going to be going up and going up fairly fast. So to be borrowing for this project in that environment is not prudent, in my opinion. It's certainly not good for taxpayers. The process also that we're going through in Fitchburg is the annexation of the town of Madison. I don't think anybody has a real handle on what the costs are going to be of that. And if we use our borrowing capacity for a project on the hub park, we may be in a position where we're vulnerable if we have to borrow for anything that is involved with the town of Madison annexation. So my thought is you have option C, which gives you certainly a basic process for the park, and it's covered by funds available. You can do option D if you eliminate the full cover of the hard coat, and you won't have to borrow.
David, I'm sorry, I gotta cut you off there. That's 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
That's all I had to say.
All right. Brian, and after that is Tony Hartman.
Hello. Name's Brian Poole. I live in the Highlands of Seminole, so not too far around the corner from the proposed park. Speaking today in support of the park. Honestly, I think that we should go all the way. I think the ice rink is a great idea, but I think going anything short of option D is would be a failure in our responsibilities to the future. I can walk to 5 different parks from where I live in the Highlands of Seminole. 4 of them are great. The Fitchburg Springs Park, which is the one closest to the proposed park, is by far the least well-maintained, the least usable. It's a real inequality, and I think it's our duty to help adjust and to address that. I know that it's expensive. It's a long-term investment. Yeah, maybe there's a difference. Say it's a difference of $2 million over 10 years. It's not $2 million every year. It's $200,000 a year or something. It's much more reasonable. And I think it's something that, again, we have to do. It ultimately will benefit the city by the societal impacts which I think, you know, our police budget, I don't know, is 8.5 million or something a year. It's pretty significant. If we can even help address some of the delinquencies in juveniles as they're in that stage, and it's going to end up paying. I think that the ice rink's a great idea, as well as the all trails, because it becomes more of a regional draw. And I'll tell you, as a parent, I go to Cross Plains, I go to Monona, I go to good parks, and I think Fitchburg should have a park that's really proud of. And so that's why I'm supporting the park. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've got Tony next. Ari, did you want to speak? I don't have a sheet for you. I'm not sure. Oh, all right. Go ahead, Tony.
Thanks, guys. So Tony over on Whalen Road, most of you know me. For those watching at home, I used to sit up there, and I appreciate everybody's time because I know you mostly volunteer for what you're doing up there. I ran into Tom Clowder, speaking of volunteers, good volunteers in the parking lot on the way up, or way in, and you know, it reminded me right away, and I know that the mayor and Alder Radafrada remember these conversations, but remember, it was only going to cost us $19 million to rebuild North Fish Hatchery Road, and I think a lot of you know that it exceeded budget. In fact, most of our projects do. That's just the way of the world. Chad probably remembers that, but I think the thing is that we've invested a lot in North Fish Hatchery Road, and you know, what's our investment in the golf course? What's the private investment within a half a mile of this area? I mean, we have to keep the momentum going, and you know, listening to people who think that we should be very frugal here, I think the highest cost for this is not the most expensive option here. It's not investing in our low-income and black and brown communities. That's what I think. So we really have to move with this. I mean, clearly, Wade and the planning department have spent a lot of time on this since, I think, before I was even on the council in 2015. So this is one of those opportunities that comes along after a lot of sweat and a lot of effort, and I think we're making the right decisions here. As I emailed many of you, I think all of you, I think you have some good opportunity or some good options in front of you, but clearly I would like to see maximum funding for this. And I will say that, you know, on behalf of Bike Fitchburg, as I'm on the board and didn't take a step back fast enough, I'm president this year, we will commit to programming over here. We gave away bicycles last weekend, I believe it was about 10 days ago now, at Leopold School, Free Bikes for Kids program. I bet it was 50 or 60 bicycles. It was awesome. Those kids were coming from Fitchburg, too. It wasn't just north of, you know, our border. So I know there's a lot of interest, and I'm amazed every time I go by the new bicycle pump track that's in Leopold Park, and ours would be a great complement to that. So don't skimp on this, gang. I mean, it's over budget, but show me one thing this year that's not going to be over budget. I really appreciate it, and boy, vote the right way. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you. I know we've got some people online. Scott, who do you want to go with first?
Elizabeth Fackler.
All right, Elizabeth, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Fackler. I am a 9-year resident of Fitchburg. I am a mother. I live in Tower Hill neighborhood. So in some ways, one could think I shouldn't have to be bothered with this park because it's not in my neighborhood. However, this one behind me, he does Leopold. And I actually substitute at Leopold. And I am the lead of the Leopold Green Schoolyard Committee. And we run the school garden there. And I remember when we first started investing money in it, and thanks to the Fitchburg grant last year through the Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative, and we got it again this year, people were kind of hesitant about us putting so much time, energy, and money into that garden because they're like, oh, if you build it, they'll just destroy it. This idea that that neighborhood has no value for the things that are made there is not true. We built that garden and we produced over 600 pounds of produce. And people smiled as they came through. People hung out in this little tiny school garden with a crummy picnic table because it made them feel seen. It made them feel heard. This park is so crucial for that neighborhood. It is so crucial for those children and those parents and the seniors that are now moving into the Highline apartment building that's going to be right across the street from it, to be heard and seen and have a place to be. Where I live, my son has 4 parks within walking distance. In that neighborhood, the kids don't have those kind of options. And that says a lot about where our priorities as Fitchburg City when it comes to neighborhoods. To look at this park and be like, it's going to be expensive. Well, yeah, because you took too long to build it. I mean, at the end of the day, that park should have been there so much longer ago, and it wasn't. And this gives these kids a feeling that they're important, that they're valued, they're part of our society, and that we see them. And to give them anything less would be dismissive. And I don't think that that's what our city wants to stand for, period. I know as a taxpayer, I definitely don't want to stand for it. I want to be something greater. And I want my money that I pay taxes in to go to something greater than myself and greater than just my neighborhood. I want it to be for everybody. And I don't think that that's unreasonable. And budgets always go over. That's just the nature of the beast. I own a house. There's not a single budget thing that I have done here in this house that didn't cost me more than would be planned. That's the way of the world. So I'm begging you, go all out. Show these kids and these parents and part of our Fitchburg neighborhoods that they are seen and they are heard and we are here for them. That's all I have to say. Thanks and have a great night.
All right, thank you. Who's next?
Wendy Hathaway.
All right, Wendy, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Hathaway, 2641 Granite Road, and I am speaking about this resolution. I want to strongly voice my support to fully fund the park or at least choose option D without the ice rink. Growing up in a lower middle class neighborhood in northern Wisconsin, the park down the street from our house, which had playground equipment and a large grassy field and yes, an ice rink in the winter, was a really great space where my parents could take me to play and picnic. And when I was older, they knew I'd be safe walking or biking to it from and with my friends. And a few decades later, when my husband and I moved to the Quarry Hill neighborhood here in Fitchburg, I was delighted to find a really beautiful park just a few blocks away from our house. We don't have children ourselves, but we see kids and parents enjoying the space, getting fresh air and exercise, others planting new community gardens, and we walk our dogs along the path of the park. So I was shocked and disappointed when at the same time I realized there's no accessible green space just down Fish Hatchery Road from us. There's no open park space for all of the residents that live in that area. I just turned 40, so that means the city of Fitchburg is only a little bit younger than I am. And yet over 4 decades, there's been no real investment in recreational space available to the families that live there. And the kids and their parents and caregivers deserve better. As a community, we have the chance to finally make this right. I disagree strongly with any proposals that would cut funding for this project and shortchange those families. I realize costs are tight for everyone right now, for me, for you all, for residents, for municipal governments alike. But this is not the time or the place to cut corners and tell these kids we don't feel like paying for it or only feel like paying for the bare minimum option when we have already funded so many nice parks in other parts of the city. Costs are only going to increase, and now is the time to invest in our city, all of our city, and finally build this wonderful place that will positively impact so many. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Who's next?
Shelly Milofsky.
All right, Shelly, go ahead.
Shelly, go ahead.
Are you there? Oh, maybe we'll try coming back to her. Oh, wait.
Nope.
Oh, there we
Okay.
go. All right, there you are.
Sorry, trying to unmute. I got
All
it.
right.
I'm Shelly Milofsky, and I am a resident of Fitchburg in District 4. I don't necessarily think I have the right to, or the place to speak for the neighborhood in which the hub park would be located, but as a resident of the city, I do have the right to challenge my city to be the best that it can be and to share the values that I think are important. And that's to be a city for every one of its residents. So therefore, I support option A. I think an ice rink would be a wonderful thing in the winter for the whole city of Fitchburg, but certainly that community. But I think option D would be a reasonable compromise. I looked over a lot of the presentations that were made on this subject, and from that, I understand several things. One is that our Chamber of Commerce thinks that it would be an economic driver to have a quality park in that area. It would be a destination park, particularly with the all-wheel track, and that would bring people to the community and then spend in the community. I also, understand that there are funds for the park. So I'm not sure what the prior speaker was talking about. I can't speak to that. It's my understanding that funds are available. I also know that it's supported by the Parks Commission and the Healthy Neighborhood Initiative committees. And I think people that volunteer or staffed on those committees spend a lot of time and energy working through options, working through all kinds of information to come to recommendations. And I think those recommendations should be respected and be given great weight. I also believe that everybody on the council wants to be good stewards of the fiscal health of this city. I do think, though, that if you intend to delay some elements of the park tonight in the thought that you would revisit in the future, it will be more costly, and inertia is a very powerful thing. I think whatever you vote on tonight is going to be what that park is going to be for quite some time, if not forever. But I also think that good stewardship demands that you look at priorities. And one priority among many is to, as Jean Musser said, we must have channeled each other when we were thinking about what we were going to say. One priority is to right past wrongs, whether those wrongs were intentional or planned, neglectful, or just accidental. The point is they need to be righted. This community has waited for a very long time for a quality space for its kids, its teens, its families, a nice shelter to be able to bring service providers in to provide services, partners to plan fun events. I think the covering over the concrete is important because it extends the usage of the park during the year.
Shelly, I'm sorry. I need to cut you off. I'm sorry. That's 3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, Skype's next.
Katie Tratnik.
All right, Katie, go ahead.
Hi there. My name is Katie Tratnik. I live at 2411 Tahi Drive in District 1 of Fitchburg. I'm currently a graduate student at UW-Madison studying veterinary medicine and public health. And I'm also honored to serve on Fitchburg's Healthy Neighborhoods Committee. And as Elizabeth alluded to earlier, on this committee, we work to address inequities that exist in our city's priority neighborhoods. And currently the North Fish Hatchery Road neighborhood is a great example of where we can put our resources to address those inequities. This neighborhood houses 11% of our city's population, so it's rather blasphemous that they have zero accessible park space. I myself am a regular user of the Hugel Jamestown Park, which is by Hugel Elementary School, and I spend quite a lot of time in that park in the summer. Alder herbs to kind of attest to my garden and its prolific beauty. I like to walk in the park, to meditate, to shoot some hoops, and to build community. I'm always awed by the fact that there is never really a time that I walk by the shelter in that park. It's always full of graduation parties, retirement parties, birthday parties, family get-togethers. But this unfortunately is something that the North Fitch Hatchery Road neighborhood doesn't really have. And that's because of historic lack of city investment. So as a lot of other people before me have alluded to, you have a great opportunity in front of you tonight. Yes, there are concerns about funding, and a lot of people have addressed those concerns. I would also add that this space is going to grow immensely in the next few years, few decades, like as we have planned for it to grow. So yes, this is going to cost money, but there is going to be money that's coming from it down the road. So yeah, I urge you to vote accordingly. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Who's next, Scott?
Sam Voorhees.
All right, Sam, go ahead.
Hey folks, thanks for having me tonight. Sam Voorhees, 85 South Gardens Way. I live in the Swan Creek neighborhood in District 3. Coming to you tonight to speak in favor of the Hub Park, personally in support of option A, but the proposal that the Parks Committee is supporting also would find acceptable. We've heard both economic and equity reasons for supporting this project, and both of them speak to me very much. We've heard from a lot of speakers about how there's a high density population of underserved people people of color in this community, and we've been a city for 40 years, and it is time that this community has a park. So let's get it done, folks. This is the only neighborhood that doesn't have accessible park space right now. It is the structural inequality. Let's be clear about that. And it is time that we right that. But also let's talk about the economic parts of this. Yes, it is, I heard the term high cost. Let's reframe that, folks. Let's talk about high value. This is a park that people are going to come from different communities around Dane County to come and visit. People are going to move here because this is such a great investment in our community. There are going to be new businesses. We have just put a ton of money to restoring Fish Hatchery Road. We've done other investments in this area. Let's keep the momentum going. This is going to be such an asset to our community, and we might have to borrow. Raise my taxes, please. Invest in this community. So I hope you do the right thing tonight, folks. Thanks for the time.
All right, thank you. Who's next?
Linda Horvath.
All right, Linda, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Horvath, and I apologize, my camera is not working tonight, so I won't be able to turn it on. But I'm here today to represent the Leopold Arbor Hills Neighborhood Resource Team. This is a multi-jurisdictional team of Madison, Fitchburg, city agencies, as well as the county, nonprofits, centers of worship. We're a huge group of over 100 individuals and organizations that has worked for many years in this area in support of the residents, linking them to services that they greatly need. We did a health impact assessment in the area about 8 years ago, went door to door in the neighborhood to the apartment dwellers, listening to people and what their needs were. And green space was definitely the highest thing on the list, and the need for that. I'm dating back to the time when the golf course was up before you as a potential park. And of course that didn't come through, but many great things have happened since through the efforts of Scott Endel and Wade Thompson at the golf course for the families that live in that area. But it's time to take that investment a little bit further, and the great efforts that Wade and Scott have made to get this great proposal before you. Let's not waste that. Let's invest hopefully today in this amazing, amazing space, that proposal that's before you. It really is terrific, and such an honor to be here tonight to speak in favor of it. I'm certainly in favor of the first option, as other folks have said, the ice rink. For me, as a lifelong ice skater and one who has enjoyed the City of Madison ice rinks for many years and seen so many kids flourish and become great hockey players as a result of that type of investment, I think it's really terrific to have that. I think that we do see kids. I volunteer with the walking school bus regularly with Leopold School and have done that about 5 years. Kids are playing in the streets. They're playing in the parking lots. It really is time. The investment that you make is in their health and their well-being for many years to come, and that of future kids and families that live here too. This area is just loaded with really bright, wonderful young people, and it's sad not to have this type of resource for them. So we really love this design and proposal and strongly support it. Thanks so much for your time.
All right, thank you. Scott, who's next?
Elizabeth Ward.
All right, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thanks. Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Ward, and I'm a District 4 resident. I'm here to testify to ask you to support the Hub project in its entirety, whether it's option A or the Parks Committee option. Given the lack of attention this area has gotten in the past, it would be wrong not to fund this project to its fullest extent. According to the Trust for Public Land, 87% of Fitchburg residents live within 10 minutes of a park. I personally live within probably 2 minutes of a walk to a park, and I'm proud to live in a city with such amazing green space. And it's easily my favorite part of living in Fitchburg. Unfortunately, not everybody in Fitchburg can say the same thing. And those who can't are the ones that are almost always last in line for city amenities. 67% of the people who live in the area near the potential hub are people of color, and over half are low income. These are the exact communities that have been told that the money ran out and when it was time for a project or investment that would help them. The same communities that have been told that something would be nice to do, but it's just unaffordable. The same communities that are always next in line, but we never get there. I'm urging you not to do that again, not to tell them next time again. If you say no tonight, given the way costs will continue to rise, you could be saying no forever to communities who are always told no. The location of this park is also in an area that is known to be a heat island, or an area within a city that is higher temperature than others. Given the worst effects of climate change are looming, choosing not to move forward with this project in its entirety is worse than just inaction or the status quo. It'll support things getting worse for this area. As a result, approving the option with the full covering is the best option. And thank you for taking the time to listen to my thoughts. I hope you'll vote in support of the project in its entirety. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Who else got?
Baltazar de Anda Santana.
All right, go ahead, Baltazar.
Good evening, everybody. Buenas noches. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Baltasar de Anda Santana, and I'm the Executive Director of the Latino Academy of Workforce Development. And I'm here, obviously, to support the hub. Throughout the years, we need a place for folks to gather, a place for folks to relax, a place for folks to be. Many of our students at the Latino Academy, they live in your neighborhood. We actually have received a number of funding throughout the years for our CDL and GED program. We want to make sure that our students can have a place where, they can go and study, where what a better opportunity for families to bring their kids and study, have a book. Adults will be reading their GED books while their kids will be reading their elementary education books. Especially right now, our students need a place to relax, especially during and after the pandemic. While I was working as part of the Wisconsin Bike Federation, I heard many times, how do we bring the Latinx Black community to the beautiful spaces in Madison and Fitchburg? I was always challenged with that question. Here we have an opportunity to bring the beauty of the parks to the community. I think it's time for our city, for Fitchburg, for Madison, and every city in the county to stop trying to bring people to places and let us bring places to people. Let us put people first. And, it's time to invest in our community. Is this going to be expensive? Probably. Equity is expensive. Standing for our community requires the opportunity to invest. As many of previous speakers had mentioned, this is the opportunity to keep it right, to have it right for our community. Many times I am asked, what is what the community wants? What is what the Latinx community wants? There's a number of focus groups going on in the city. Sometimes, we invest time and effort. Our community needs this. If you go ahead and fund this park, then we are going to be responding to the needs of our community. And, thank you very much again for your time. And, I really hope that, tonight you made the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, who else?
Rosalia Gutens.
All right.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. My name is Rosalia Gutens, and I'm the Community School Resource Coordinator at Leopold Elementary. And the reason why I'm here tonight is to provide full support to be fully funded of this initiative, or at least for going for option D. In my role, a big part of my role is planning out of school time for our families. We have about 700 students, from which 75% live in a Fitchburg and your community. So I can see the impact that this will have in not just for students, just for families, just the community in general, how it will strengthen. In my time planning out of school time opportunities, I have found really big challenges because we don't have other spaces to access aside from the school. If you were to come on a weekend to Leopold, you will find many of our Fitchburg residents just hanging out in the playground area, in the green area. That's basically the only opportunity they have right now. And that, to me, is an issue of equity. So that they have to cross the street and come to the school that they come every day, that they use every day, because they don't have something else that they can walk to through the park. So I think this is a great opportunity for the city of Fitchburg to advance their equity initiative and really invest in this community. Also, as part of my role, I have the opportunity to engage with many of our families of color. And a lot of the conversations that we have had in which engage, whatever keeps coming up is not having a space to gather safely, having to cross the street or having to send their older kids to cross the street to access the small park at the Madison area. Most increasingly during the pandemic, what we keep hearing is the limited access to physical activities or mental health that will support mental health eventually. So most of the areas that our families need to go to are has to be driving, so they don't have a walking distance area. So that's why I'm fully supporting things that are, for instance, like the basketball court that is covered. I think that will be a key asset during the winter, having a space. We do have quite a few basketball courts at the school, but during the winter, just having that added space that people can still access will be really important, as well as ideally a skating rink, the limited opportunities that our students have to really learn to skate or to access, just like it was mentioned earlier, to learn how to play hockey and all of that. This will be a huge investment. Yes, it does have a price tag. All huge investments will have a price tag, but think about the health equity in your community. Think about how this will impact your community as a whole. Yeah, right now you're focusing on this area, but think about how improving this area will eventually increase the well-being of your entire community, of your entire city. So I'm really encouraging you to take the time. So thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Perfect. All right, Scott, who's next? All right, you want me to read off some of the email names while you're doing that? All right. We got a bunch of emails. These people wrote in and supported the hub as written. Ryan Hulisman from Fitchburg, Kirsten Hulisman from Fitchburg, Paul and Sue Fieber from Fitchburg, Chris Unger from Fitchburg, Kelly Haslam from Fitchburg, Claire Groupie from Fitchburg, Maureen Sharp, she didn't say where she's from, Sarah Rubin, I'm not sure where she's from, Simon Lowe from Fitchburg, Ann Sawyer from Fitchburg, Judith Statler from Fitchburg, Mary Power from Fitchburg, Troy Klein from Fitchburg, David Gevers, he's from Plusco, I don't know where he lives though, it's not Fitchburg, Megan Siebert from Fitchburg, Sean Koval, who didn't say where he is from, Paul Muir from Fitchburg, Mark Hamilton from Fitchburg, Barbie Morawski from Fitchburg, Alex Teal from Fitchburg, Tanya Buckingham Anderson from Fitchburg, Jimmy Anderson from Fitchburg, Franny Lyons from Fitchburg, Kay Lum, who didn't say, I think she's from Fitchburg though, Christopher Asina from Fitchburg, Corey Nelson from Fitchburg, and Tricia Hillner from Fitchburg. And then we also had some people email in with support, but with some suggested changes. Stephen Heller from Fitchburg, who I believe was not in favor of the ice rink or the covering over the basketball courts. Ryan Estrella from Fitchburg, he also talked about the desire for a soccer field. Emily Bourne from Fitchburg, who was in support with no ice rink. And then Brad Brayton from Fitchburg, who was in favor of scaled down version without amenities like the ice rink and the covering over the basketball courts. Ready for a video? All right.
Hey everybody, my name is Olin Bowen. I'm coming at you live from Leopold Elementary School, right here in the North Fish Hatchery neighborhood. Just recording this video in support of the idea of the Hub Community Center that I just heard about from a colleague, and it is amazing. I wanted to speak out in strong support of it because I think this is really one of the key pieces, having worked in this neighborhood for 4 years, that this community needs. I think it builds 3 big foundational pieces, the first of which being safety, having a safe place to gather that's always there, that's available, that has just like a safe physical space. And then on top of that, having a place to come together as a community, especially in the last couple of years, it's been very difficult to feel like we're part of a group together. And I think we definitely see that in our youngest kids right here at Leopold. It coming back to school has felt very fractious in terms of not really being able to draw on that sense of community. I think that the hub would go a long way towards creating a space that everybody wants to use, and that allows us to form relationships with each other and bring those relationships into other areas of our life, like school, and cause stronger performance here as well. The third one is fun. When I come through this neighborhood, I feel this need for a place that feels like, yes, I want to come here and have fun and have a good time and meet people and connect. I think the features that are part of the hub proposal are things that are going to be really attractive to a variety of people, to come down and just check them out and be a part of the community that surrounds these things. I know that when we think about what type of community we want to look around and see, a year, 3 years, 5 years down the road, these three pieces are so key in creating that reality. We have to put those pieces in place, the safety, the community, and the fun, put those in place now in order to see the results down the road. I'm really confident that if the hub is fully funded, we're going to start seeing some pretty big shifts and pretty big improvements in the engagement of our students with our school community as well, not just the neighborhood community. Being part of the school for these past 4 years, I've really started to think a lot about the way that our physical spaces around us and our environments can really send messages about how people see us and about what the priorities are of the decision makers.
Scott, unfortunately, she's over 3 minutes. I'm going to cut that off. All right. Next, got another one, I believe. One or maybe two more. One more, all right.
My name is Ari, and I'm a Fitchburg resident. I have also been working at Leopold as a substitute teacher for the last 5 months, and I'm on the Healthy Neighborhood Initiative Committee. I want to show the council why it is so important that our city invest in my community. How does it tell our young citizens about our city's priorities when in front of their school is broken glass? There's trash floating in the wind. And on their way to walk to school, they pass by broken beer bottles. Juntos podemos. Together we can. And as a city, we can do better for the young citizens in my community. Our youth are full of love, joy, and energy. They deserve to see the great part of our community. Let's show them that we care. Here is the site to be renovated. I hope that by seeing it, you will understand that it needs a lot of love, care, and money from our city. The cracks in the pavement seem symbolic of our city's past priorities. With our new housing developments and subsequently increasing population, it is important to provide our community with a place to gather and have fun. Funding this community center would be a great way to continue promoting equitable practices that lift barriers to access and help our neighborhood be a safe, healthy, and thriving community. I am grateful to the city of Fitchburg for all their hard work in planning and designing this community center. I hope that it can be well funded to support our students who are the future of our community. Thank you for your time and consideration. Juntos podemos. Together we can.
All right, and that's all that you have, right, Scott? All right, that is all I have then for public comment. So I can open it up to, oh, is that one more person? All right. Come on up, Joe, if you want to speak to this. You're up, Joe. Come on up if you want to speak to this one. this one? Yeah. Right now? Yeah, you're up. Just in time. You just made it. 3 minutes or less.
Public hearing. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Your thoughts?
Good timing.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. It's been a very busy day for me. Just made it to the meeting here. I'm not sure why I'm here yet. This is regarding some of the specifications on the bike paths.
On the hub project.
On the hub.
The park.
I'm in favor. What else can I say?
Just if there's anything in particular about it that you like or don't like.
Well, basically, I'm a lifelong biker, Fitchburg resident for almost 50 years, bike for transportation, elderly, electric assist, and chronic volunteer for everything else. Can I add anything else? Okay.
I'll leave you on to. All right, thank you very much. All right, I believe that is all for public comments, so I can open up to the council for comments or questions or anything like that. Anyone? Julia, and then Dave after that. Go ahead, Julia.
So as you know, I have been very involved with through Park Commission and the Healthy Neighborhood Program committee on this park for the last maybe 3 years. I represent the area now as an alder, and also I have lived in Fitchburg for 17 years, and my kid attend the Leopold School, and I was very involved with the Leopold School at the time when my kids were in school. So I know the area pretty well. I drive the area very well every day because it's my way to go through my work. And one of the things that, that I want to speak out about tonight is how the construction of this park will help with the economic development of the area, the corridor. A couple of years ago, we designed a vision for the corridor that involved not only the fish hatchery reconstruction, but also how we can make that area the gateway of the city. We invest a lot of money, and we said, in the corridor, and we said economic development is going to come. The development is going to come. The projects are going to come. So we can see that. We already in the corridor. There are two new developments. And there are a couple in the pipeline too, under construction. So you can imagine if all this new inflow of people coming to the corridor, and there is no place to do recreation. I know that we have the golf course, and people say, yeah, we have a park. But it's a park where, in order to access the park, you need to pay. You need to play golf. Not everyone plays golf. So if we remove the Ninth Spring golf course from the equation, there is no other place where people can do recreational activity, or a place where they can gather. Most of these people live in an apartment complex. They don't have like a yard, like most of us that live in nice homes with a big backyard. So, yes, there is the Leopold School have a playground, but the investment that the city has neglected for many years in that area is showing. And then, I think that if we look at the economic development and the attraction for all of these new development that come into the corridor, that I can say, wow, I can build this apartment complex here, and I'm going to have this beautiful park or recreational area where my tenants can go and enjoy. Think about that, how that is going to be a multiplier not only for attracting more people to the corridor, attracting more projects to the corridor, also how those is going to be the impact in the business in the corridor. We have a nice shopping center there. We can bring more of those small business in the area. So this is how I see it. You know, I see it also as an equity issue. I see it, but for me, I see it more as an economic development issue. Also, we have the full support of the Fitchburg Chamber of Commerce. You know, we receive a letter, all of us, with a full board saying, this is great for the city. So I am ready to compromise. I know that everyone here in this council, they like the project, you know? We all like the project. We have $3.7 million in park dedication fee to start this project. And then I know the rest, there is a gap of almost $900,000 if we choose option D that we need to cover with debt. But also we need to think about all the future development coming to the corridor that they are gonna bring more park dedication fee that we can use to fund this project. And I think we can fund it completely with park dedication fee. This is what we collect, this park dedication fee, to use it for this project. So we have $3.7 million already there to build this park. So we need to determine what we want to see that. We want to see a shelter for sure. We want to see the all-wheel track, and we want to see a basketball court. And then from then, we can say what else we can in the future, add. I am ready here to compromise. I am ready to say no to the ice rink, and I am ready to compromise if we can build the cover for the hard court. Maybe we can use, do it in a phase 2 when we collect more park dedication fees for the corridor. If people don't feel comfortable to, to borrow $500,000 or $750,000. But I think we need to, at least, we need to invest in that area. And I think all of us here, we agree with that. That is a good idea, the park. But then I think let's work together and determine which option, what we want to see. Let's leave tonight with something there. That area really, really needs it. This is for now.
All right, I got Dave and then Gabriella on the list.
I think I'm probably the only one on the council that ice skates regularly in the park by my house. I love ice skating, have since a little boy. And I doubt there's anyone in the council tonight or anyone that spoke tonight that spends more time in the parks or outside. That's what I do for, when I'm not working. That said, I'm very much in favor of this park. Everything that everyone said, what it will do. I am not in favor of the roof over the park. As a young boy, I grew up in northern Wisconsin, and one of the first books I was given to read was about Oscar Robertson. Any of you that know him, iconic basketball player, brought the Milwaukee Bucks with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. First championship. What I recall about reading about his life, he grew up in a poor African American in Indianapolis area. But his mother said, as soon as school was done, Oscar went to the basketball court, and he would often have to send a brother or someone else to bring him home. Spring, summer, winter, fall. He just wanted to play. And my point is, we don't need a roof over a basketball court. I read that as a young boy. My brothers and I, all winter, we would shovel our outside court so we could play. I think we have a hard court. Parks can keep that cleaned off in the winter just fine. If kids want to play in the winter, I don't see many, even when the courts are clear, not many people want to be outside playing. So I'm in favor of option D. I'm going to propose an amendment, though, to remove the roof. Second option, though, I like the basketball, or I like the hockey rink, the area north of the court. I do not feel we need a parking lot. The shelter on Williamsburg Way, as Katie Tratnik mentioned, is used all the time. Everyone parks on the street. I would prefer that be a grassy area, large number of, we have a large Hispanic population in that area, and as I ride my bike around the park in my house, there's children playing soccer. I think a far better use for that area would be a soccer field. And if we put a small berm around it, we could flood it in the winter and use it as a ice skating rink. So that's why I'm in favor. I'll be making an amendment to remove the roof, and a second amendment to remove the parking lot for soccer on the north side of it. Thank you.
All right, I have Gabriella next, and then Jay, and then Jim. Go ahead, Gabriella.
Hi, sorry, thanks. So, I mean, you all know that I'm a big supporter of this project. I'm really delighted that I now represent this part of town after redistricting, and I was really happy that I get to fight for these neighbors. And I think the people that testified today and the people that wrote in those emails really articulated the equity issue that this lack of park space represents. And I don't know that I could articulate it any better than they did, but I know that when I first learned about this project early on in my tenure as an alder, and the fact that there is no city park space aside from the golf course, I was just completely outraged. And I think that as more people in the city have learned about that inequity, people have come to realize, and when they learn about it, they realize how unfair it is. And it's not lost on them why this area of town is the area of town that's ignored, because it's lower income. There's a higher proportion of people of color. It's not a coincidence, and it's not necessarily an intentional omission. It's 1,000 little decisions and 1,000 moments where they're next in line, that leads to almost 40 years into being a city, and there's still no city park space for the vast majority of these residents to use. And I think that the fact that this is such an egregious structural inequality is justification enough to really spend money on the full project, spend the full amount of money. And it's pretty incredible to me that we had, by my count, we had 53 public comments between emails and in person and Zoom. 50 were in full support of the project or support of the parks option, without the ice rink. That is a 94% support for this project. I can't think of any issue in the city of Fitchburg that would have 94% that involves a large sum of money. That's an incredible level of support from the community. And I was very, very touched by some of these testimony. And I assume a lot of you were too. The one in particular was that they were talking about, the resident was talking about how the school garden at Leopold made this community feel seen and feel heard, and a sign that they were cared about. And the city has been telling this neighborhood for decades that we don't care about them. And we need to demonstrate that we care to fix this issue. And the fact that we've waited so many years, this project has been developing for certainly over a decade. I guess I don't know the exact start date, but it's definitely been in development for over a decade. If we had built this park a decade ago, it would not cost this much money. And costs have gone up. But the idea that you wait and you drag your feet and you don't do the project, and then when costs go up, you say, oh, it's too expensive now. That's just an insult to these people that have been waiting for a park. And honestly, they probably don't even think the park is coming because they have no reason to believe that the city of Fitchburg cares about them at all. And that is something we should all feel deeply concerned about. I think we all do feel deeply concerned about, but I think that the signal that this not wanting to pay for it as costs are rising is just another signal to the community that Fitchburg is not really invested. So that's the equity argument. But the economic argument, I think, has also well articulated by the public comments, in that this is an area that will be revitalized over the coming decades. And a park, an investment in a really extraordinary park, that is a park that will invite people from around the community and around the region, that is a signal that we care about this area of town. And that is a signal that will bring investment. Terrace Point, the new development that's right at the end of Traceway Drive, just a couple hundred yards from where the Hub Park will be, they've been trying to find a tenant for their commercial space on the first floor. And you better believe that a Hub Park there is going to attract somebody, because what business wouldn't want a park that's going to bring people from all over the region? And that economic development that will come over the next 10, 20 years, that will far, far, far exceed any investment we have to make now to take on debt to make this project happen. And I would just also remind you too, that debt is not only about not having the funds in hand to pay for it, because that obviously is a consideration, but debt is also about spreading the burden of a cost to future residents in addition to current residents. That's one of the reasons that we do this tool. And this park is going to benefit residents 10, 20 plus years down the line. And we should all be part of that investment, which is one of the reasons why debt is a good thing. So I am willing to, obviously the option on the table is to not have the ice rink. If that's what we're going to go with, that's fine. But I think that the cover is incredibly important. And I think it creates year-round opportunities. And it's not just about being able to play basketball year-round. That cover creates an opportunity to have farmers markets. You could have art fairs. You could have community events, concerts all year round, no matter the weather. There's a reason that the farmers market's in the Agora Pavilion. It's because it's covered and it can happen at any time, no matter what the weather conditions. That cover creates a space that can be used for far more than just playing basketball. And so I really encourage the council to, at the very least, fund this hard court. We can make this happen. It is a choice whether or not we get rid of this hard court cover. And I think we should choose to tell this community that we care about them and signal to people that this is the part of town that deserves some new investment, and it will pay back tenfold. Thanks.
All right, I got Jay and then Jim and then Joe. After that, go ahead, Jay.
Well, as long as I have been involved in Fitchburg government, I have been advocating for some kind of teen center somewhere. And for those of you who aren't keeping your scorebooks open, that goes back to 1995. We have had, I've sat up here, well, not even always up here, sometimes in the old city hall down on Fish Hatchery Road. I've sat here while presentations were made by teenagers in this city who came to us and said, we want to build a skateboard park, and we want to go and do fundraising for it. All we need is a little space in a Fitchburg park to do it. And I have watched this council say, no, we aren't going to do that. I was here watching a group of people try to build a public swimming pool in Fitchburg, where they were going to raise the funds to build the swimming pool. They just wanted the city of Fitchburg to commit to providing space in a park for it and providing the operating expenditures. And I watched this council say no. It's really easy for politicians to say no. And it's often the wrong decision. I've been thinking a lot about what configuration of this park we should build. And I think there's no question that we should build it. And I'm not going to, I'm not even going to bring up as one of my supporting items the idea of reinvestment on Fish Hatchery Road, or what kind of business may move into the Terrace Point building, or any of that, because to me, those are important points, but they aren't as relevant to me as the fact that I lived on Leopold Way, I lived on Post Road for almost 10 years. And I watched the kids of that neighborhood. I watched them, a lot of them would try to go over to play at the park that's at Leopold School. If you are a 10 or 12-year-old kid and you are trying to cross Post Road where people don't know what a speed limit sign means, I saw a lot of near misses, and we've had a couple of accidents where kids have gotten hit trying to cross that road. We have thousands of people who live in this neighborhood, and the city of Fitchburg, as long as I can remember, has done virtually nothing to support the residents of that community. We now have a plan. We've had other plans, but now we have a significant plan, a plan that's a game changer for whatever happens on Fish Hatchery Road, maybe. but for the residents of that neighborhood, without any doubt. So as I've sat and thought over the last few weeks what I would like to see done with this, I know there's always people talking about, oh, we don't want to raise taxes too much, we don't want things to cost too much, and we have no trouble spending money on fire stations, and you know, this building that we sit in tonight cost $6 million back in 1998, and that was perfectly fine. It's time to put some money into this community. I think that so when the city of Fitchburg and the city of Madison got together to make some improvements in Jamestown Eagle Park, there were some questions about that, and we built an undersized shelter, and we did some other things that could have been done a little bit better. But one of the things we did do was we made it possible to have an ice rink there. And you know, I've gotten to be this many years old, and I've never had a pair of ice skates on my feet in my life. Ice skating scares the crap out of me. But I went over to that park, and I've driven by there many times in the wintertime, and when we have a winter that makes any logical sense, there's always people out there skating on that rink. I think it was a good investment in that community. It's something that's getting use, and no, these things aren't going to generate revenue. They're not going to pay for themselves, but it's an investment in the community. It's an investment in the quality of life. I don't know how many people will use an ice rink at the Hub. I don't know. I don't know. There may be kids there now who have never been on ice skates, and now they'll have an opportunity to try it out, and maybe that's a useful skill to have in life. I don't know, because I don't do it. But I do know this. I know that if we don't build the ice rink now, it will never be built, because the type of infrastructure that you need to have the ice rink is something that has to be done when all of this construction work is being done. It's going to be very, very hard to add it later on, and it will cost a fortune. So that I am quite convinced about. I appreciate Gabriella's comments, and I'm not as convinced about the covering for the basketball court, just because, you know, a lot of things that were mentioned, like if you're going to have a farmer's market, most of the vendors who would go to a farmer's market have their own portable tents. If you're going to have a concert, there's tents that are available for that. You wouldn't need to cover it all anyway. I mean, I go to the Orton Park Festival every year, and the only thing that's covered there is the portable stage that comes rolling in on a trailer. So I think what I would like to do at this point is I would like to amend this resolution to approve the park with the ice rink, but without the covering for the courts, and I shall make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
All right, can I just clarify, so when you say the ice rink, do you mean the one that goes on top of the basketball courts that was in earlier? Okay. Is there a second to that motion? All right, hearing none, I guess we will move on for now. I still have a bunch of people on the agenda, and maybe come back to that. Jim, go ahead. And I've got, after Jim, I have Joe, Randy, and then Dave, I think.
Julie, I appreciate that you're willing to compromise on this, because my thing is build slow, grow, and maintain. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about with costs is the operating costs that really we're going to be bumping up against, and we're going to be bumping up operating costs against a lot of other stuff. And trust me, I do care about black people, you know, so it's not a thing that I don't care. Is a thing of the city. Basically, I look at it that this city still sometimes think it's a town. We have some infrastructure issues that are going to be coming up, and we can have all this stuff, but you still got to support it with some type of infrastructure, and that's what is the cost. Borrowing, yeah, I looked at, I asked Misty Dodge, our finance director, how much really it costs to borrow $4 million on the average cost of a home to be $12 $12. But when you talk about operating costs, that's when we're starting to bump up against the levy. And already we're talking about transportation issues. Madison Metro is changing the way they're going to operate in the city. There's going to be some people that are left out. And we got to come up with a solution for that. We got the town of Madison that we don't even know what the issues are there yet. And we're going to be talking about the same thing, that we need to invest money there. So for me, it's not a matter of, well, if you don't do it, you know, it's not going to get done, or, you know, you just don't want to invest in the neighborhood. And I wasn't going to say something, but I guess I will. You know, when we talk about equity, you know, one of the things that I look at as equity is, I've been around for a long time. And you want to talk about equity, 1862 was the Homestead Act. Was basically when white people were allowed to, you know, get deeded land for free, 160 acres, you know, if they would tend to the land. Back when housing was an issue and housing projects, you know, get people to move out of the city and create the suburbs. You know, that was something that wasn't available to African Americans. And the point I'm making is economics is also important. We can build the community centers, we can build the parks and everything else like that, but until families have the economic means to build their wealth and build up their children, a lot of the stuff that we talk about that, well, we got parks and all this other kind of stuff is really going to solve the issue. I kind of disagree. I go old school. And a lot of it, like I said, is economics and family structure. So I just wanted to get that off my chest as we talk about equity.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So folks that know me know I'm very strong equity warrior, but I'll put that to the side for a second. I think one of the things that was remarkable to me in the comment section was the variety of different places from which support was coming, right? So we had, you know, economic development organizations, which have an interest in building wealth and building economic development. We had schools, we had teachers, we had residents who lived both in the neighborhood and outside of the neighborhood in Fitchburg. We had people that, you know, run nonprofit organizations that serve adults and serve youth. And we had people basically that represent this area at almost every level of government, from county supervisor to state representatives. And in every case, people talked about not just what this would do for the neighborhood, but what they would be able to bring to the table. And I think that's really important to note. I think we often make a distinction in local government that if somebody lives here versus not lives here, that changes kind of what their stake is. And, you know, I'm not sure if Rosalia lives here, but she's invested here, and the work that she does impacts people that live here. David Gevers doesn't live here, but his housing development brings investment to the city, and is one of the reasons why we're actually have the park dedication fees to be able to pay for this. And we have developers come here all the time to talk about what they're bringing to the city, and we have an economic development department that brings in people that aren't necessarily Fitchburg residents, but they have a stake in this place. I think we really need to think about what's going to come to this neighborhood because of this. And I'll give a few examples of what I see. So, you know, I live by the motto of if you build it, they will come, right? You can build a space where, or you can build opportunities where, you know, there may not be much of an investment, there may not even be much of a pretty landscape, and if you bring people and resources to the table, it's gonna help, right? I was just at a bike repair stand workshop where the Wisconsin Bike Fed showed up. Dream Bikes showed up. They were helping folks repair their bikes. People were doing obstacle courses. That's people power, and that's people really coming together to do something in a really, excuse my language, shitty development where we have dedicated a sliver of a block on King James Way that we call a park. And people were thrilled and over the wall to be there because there were folks showing up, and like one of the commenters said, making people feel heard. I saw the joy in people's eyes. I saw the joy of folks to be able to just be in a space where there was some level of investment. Yeah, we could, do the I walked uphill both ways in the snow arguments to say why we need to shortchange our community. Yes, we can use kind of personal examples of why we should shortchange this project. But at the end of the day, when we do build high quality infrastructure, it pays off. It pays off in economic development, but it pays off in human capital. It ultimately will pay off. There's a sheltered place in the city of Madison, right next to Allied Drive, right across the street from where I live. There's a nice basketball court. And in that shelter, there's the first Wi-Fi shelter, the first shelter with Wi-Fi in the city of Madison. People come there all the time. People come there to hold events. People come there just to check their phone because they might not have internet at home. If we build it, people will come. If we invest, people will gain tangible things from it. So, we can talk to all the things that people need, such as housing. People do need to be homeowners, right? People do need to be able to have better housing than they're in. But while people are in situations where you're renting just to scrape by, if you're a grad student, if you're somebody who's just between jobs, if you're somebody who can't afford the rising cost of rent in this city, if you're somebody like Melanie who spoke about raising her 2 kids in an apartment, having a place where you can actually walk to is important, and it doesn't take away the need for other bigger, more core things, such as building wealth, such as having a home, such as having health care, such as having all the things needed to have a high quality of life, but it helps. And it actually tangibly does something for human beings. I fully urge us to be able to support this. And, whether it's option D or option A, I'm fine with it, but, again, when the 2019 council decided to bump up a police station from $25 million to $35 million, $10 million without saying a peep, nobody questioned that. But we're questioning $900,000 over the course of a decade or longer. That, in my book, is hypocrisy. And I really strongly urge this council to be able to really think through this and be able to make this investment in our community.
Randy, go ahead.
I'm not sure where to begin. 2 years ago, I had a conversation with another alder. I probably shouldn't state that, but at least here in Chambers, and I was told that we could build this for $1 million. Do I have your support? And it would come out of park fees. Well, we sit here 2 years later, and I see a proposal for $5 million. There's some great things in this project. There's no question about it. This area needs a park. It is long overdue, and I don't think anyone on this council doesn't agree that that's the case. It's just, how do we get there? The community center, the shelter, I'm not sure what we're calling it, definitely needs to go. To be built. And then the pump track, wheel track, we already have some funds for it, some matching funds. I'm just not concerned, or just not overly convinced that we need a roof over a skating rink or over a basketball court. I keep hearing basketball, and I also keep hearing other things that will take place on this surface. When it's open air, I'm not sure what that would, I mean, what is that going to keep out? Snow and rain? Snow and rain coming directly down, but not in. I've heard some other options of possibly removing a parking lot green space. When this committee, or when the committee of the whole met several months ago, and I asked for a presentation on this particular subject, and I brought up the fact that there is no green space. There is no green space with some of these options. And I keep hearing everybody say, it'll give a green space. And then they attack me on urban. It's an urban park. So talk about hypocrisy, a lot of mixed messages here. When I think of a park, I want to be able to go play football, go play soccer in a green space. We can keep the basketball, but we're going to place a parking lot, and then there's no green space. I keep hearing a lot about what it will bring. Well, I sure would like, hopefully this will, I haven't heard the word children within the area often, and I think we're losing a little bit of sight of what this project will ultimately do. The children are the most important, and what amenities will benefit them the most? I don't see a hard cover benefiting them. I don't see a skating rink. I see green space. I see an all-wheel track or whatever it's called. I see the community center, a shelter where families can gather. I'd love to say I'm in support of the $5 million project. But I feel that we need to scale it back a little bit. And a $3.6 million based on the park fees, that's no small dollar to sneer at for a park. I don't know if we have any other park in this city that started out with a 3.6. Granted, this is overdue, but we are moving in that direction. By the time we leave tonight, we will have a park. McKee Farm Parks was not built overnight. So I'm in support of a project that will remove the hardcover and the skating rink. And let's move this project forward. Thank you.
Dave, I know you mentioned wanting to come back. Do you want to?
I would like to propose an amendment to option D to remove the building over the hard court.
All right, cited by Jay. So we have an amendment now to remove the covering over the basketball court. Do you want to speak to that anymore, Dave? And you spoke to it earlier.
Said all I can say.
All right. If anyone wants to say anything more, Julia, go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to clarify a couple of things. When this project was brought up in the CIP in 2020, the initial investment from this park was 2.4. It was an estimation because we didn't know how much it's going to cost. So I want to be clear, it wasn't $1 million. Regarding operating cost, all of the parks that we built, they have operating cost. I asked a question to, Scott is here, so he can, how much it's going to cost to operate, how much it costs to operate all the community parks, because this one we need to compare the operating costs for this park with other community parks. He told me that, the operating cost from the hub is going to be similar to the one at McKee and McGo. At the beginning, the first year is going to be, the initial costs are going to be higher because we need to buy and purchase some special equipment. But after that, the fees are going to be similar, comparable. And also we need to, the shelter is also will generate some stream of revenue because we are going to rent it out. So we have to consider that too. Of course, we are not going to be able to cover all the expenses, the operating cost, with the revenue that from the shelter, the rental of the shelter. But I think, we can, there's going to be a gap. But that gap exists in every single park in our park system. So I want to be clear with that. The other thing, when Wade made a presentation in all the committees and commissions, we talk about the distinction because of the size of this parcel, the location is located in the most populated and dense area of the city. This part is considered to be kind of like an urban park. So that one was mentioned by our city, the planning, the people involved in the design. Yes, I would love to have like a soccer. I think it's a great idea with what they mentioned about remove the parking lot and create like a soccer field. I am open to that. I am not going to be open to remove the cover, on the hard court. I would like to see if we can build this park with the option that if there are more park dedication fee coming to the corridor next year or in 2 years, we can add that in the future. If we can add that feature in the future, I will be more comfortable, Dave, with that option. That's it.
All right. Two quick things before I keep going on the list. One, that might be possible. I don't know if we can commit future councils to that, but if it's something we can put in as we wish, because future council can always change their mind. But also one thing I wanted to mention, for the amendments, we just need a simple majority, but for the overall motion, once we get to voting on that, it is a budget amendment, so we do need 2/3 because we are spending more than the original $2.68 million that was budgeted. So I just wanted to mention that. I don't know that's going to be an issue, but I just want to mention that now about process, just so people know. I've got Joe and then Gabriella on the list. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, Scott, I don't know if you'd be able to answer this on hand, but regarding maintenance fees, right, or maintenance costs, is there a substantial difference from your estimates between, and I'm not counting the ice skating rink, but covered shelter versus non-covered shelter? Does a covered shelter increase maintenance costs by a significant amount?
I would just generally say that with the covered structure, we'll probably have lighting, those kinds of things, and certainly it would provide a location where there might be additional power access for vendors or concerts or things like that, so the utility bills might be a little bit more expensive. I would say that in the long haul, it's an investment in that it keeps the wear and tear and the weather off of the surface below it. There certainly would be additional maintenance or expenses, annual expenses for that structure, but I think it'd be well worth the investment for the diversity. But just one thing I do want to clarify in regards to the parking lot. As recall, in speaking with, and I see Chief Pulvermaker is on there, the parking lot really serves a couple different purposes. Certainly it's going to provide parking for the facility, but it'll provide access for EMS, and then it also provides the route for circulation for the fire department to go around. So if Chief is there and wanted to make a comment on that, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that.
And I guess one quick thing before Joel goes, and then maybe Joel can address this too, if there's not a roof over the basketball court, could the basketball court then serve that, or could a trail, like a path, also serve that purpose? I don't know, Joe, if you want to speak to kind of the options there.
Yeah, absolutely. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
So the idea behind the pathway around the building was 360-degree access. It did address our approach for not only fire safety and fire attack, but also anything emergency medical. And we tried to do that in conjunction with the existing paths and the lot that was there. So in working with the developers, we were able to address both, not only the normal day-to-day access, but the emergency access as well. So that was what went into that plan based on fire department input. And as far as whether it's the hard surface is covered or not, it does make access easier when the hard surface is not encumbered by anything that's overhead that would have clearance issues for us. But the other thing that you have to take into consideration is the thickness of the pavement to be able to support the weight of our vehicles, not just accessing them from whatever path we have. And I'd have to see what the path looks like at that point. But there is a thickness issue of the pavement in order to support the weight of our vehicles.
I had a follow-up for Scott.
Go ahead.
So with regards to sort of the payoff from rental fees. So if you had, say, a specialized vendor who, needed the power that comes from the shelter, or needs the cover that comes from the shelter, or needs specific lighting or electricity, are park fees differentiated based on the type of facility you're renting? And is that sort of set, or can that be determined based on what something might cost? In other words, what I'm asking is, could the rental offset the extra energy used or the extra need that would come from?
Absolutely, and we kind of, McKee Farms Park shelter rental fee is different than Tower Hill, or just because of the amenities that are provided within that facility. So certainly those rental fees could be adjusted depending on the infrastructure and capabilities that they provide for a vendor or a customer or whatever it might be.
All right, Gabriella, go ahead.
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yep.
Sorry. So this is directed at Scott and/or Wade. Can you, if the hardcourt cover is removed, is it possible to design it so that could theoretically be added back? Or is that really completely, does the not having it in the original design prevent it from ever coming later? Because my assumption would be more expensive to add it in the future and having to work with the design around, but I'm not an expert and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about that.
Scott, do you want me to check in on that one, or?
We got to get the last bit of dollars out of you, Wade. Yep, fire away.
And I apologize. I think I might have an unstable internet connection, but I think, Gabrielle, you were asking about doing the hardcourt later, or the covered hardcourt later. Is that correct?
Yeah, just the cover specifically. The thing that's under at the amendment is related to.
We've had discussions with our planner and consultant on that, and I think probably the best case scenario in that regard would be to leave that area probably as an open field. And Scott, correct me if I'm wrong. And then if there's a phase 2 next year, whenever, to come in and build a hardcourt and a cover, concurrently. I suppose there's a scenario where we could build a hardcourt now and then put a covering in later. But again, we're talking foundations for a big structural integrity type feature. So would probably additional, design work or creative planning. But Scott, I don't know if you have anything to chime in on that or correct me.
Yeah, they're definitely two different structures. So, the construction of the shelter would not be impeded or needed for the construction of the covered structure that would go to the west of it. They're two different structures, so it could be added in the future.
Great. All right. I don't have anyone else on my list, so we could vote on the amendment. I'm going to ask for a roll call, Tracy, just to be sure here. Yeah.
To know your position, Mayor, on this.
It doesn't matter what my position is. I spoke at the committee of the whole on it. So, all right, Tracy, go ahead.
Okay, Alder Allen?
Oh, so just to be clear, so this is the amendment that Dave presented that removes the covering over the hardcourt. So a yes would be that you want to remove the covering over the basketball court, and no, so that you do not want to remove it. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Tracy.
Okay, what is?
But Mayor, point of clarity, was the amendment also including getting rid of the parking lot?
No, that's not.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
At this point, it's just the covering.
Okay.
Removing the cover?
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead, Tracy.
Alder Allen?
Aye.
Alder Radafrada,
No.
Alder Gerhard,
No.
Alder Herbst, Alder Maldonado,
Nay.
Alder Strassman,
Aye.
Alder Udell,
Aye.
Alder Wheeler,
Aye.
5-3, motion carried.
All right, so now current proposal is without the ice rink and without the covering or the basketball court. Dave, do you want to do one more?
I'd like to propose an amendment to revised option D to remove the parking lot on the north side of the court and instead have a grass field to be used for soccer with either a berm or recess to be used to flood in the winter for a soccer field. Ice rink, I'm sorry, ice rink.
All right.
Ice rink.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Randy. Discussion on this. Dave first.
I just want to, I certainly, I appreciate Chief Pulvermarker's, his wanting to have the best access to this. I'm not going to question. I'm not a fire protection professional, but it seems to me, we're not moving the access on the east and west side that the fire truck could get in there. They might have to back up, but I think they would still be able to access the site from the, get their trucks off the street to get in there. And I just go back to, well, who's going to use this the most? And Randy's comment, children. And I see that not only children, adults, adult men, adult women. I see everyone playing soccer, whether it's Sunday morning when I'm on my bike or Friday night or whatever. And I just feel we'd be shorting the residents that love this game by not having that space be soccer, set up for soccer and winter ice skating rink. So, thank you.
Julia, go ahead.
No, I want to be sure that, I don't have, I like your idea, Dave, with the, but I am concerned about if we can do this. This one is safe to do. I don't know if we are not breaking any, safety feature, that then it's going to come back to us to, they say, no, there is a flaw in the design, you should have a parking, and then we put a hole again to this project, So I want to be sure that we can do it, you know what I mean? So that's it.
Jim, go ahead.
Heard a lot about, the neighborhood was involved in this. Was there any information given or any input whether they wanted a soccer field or ice skating rink? Anybody?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Yeah, we did do a lot of engagement. Winter activities, ice rink was an identified feature that got a lot of positive response. I don't know if we specifically asked about soccer. I think we might have said play fields or something like that. And certainly, that was maybe more of a catch-all, but that was, viewed positively. I do want to point out, I haven't played soccer in years, but that area north of the basketball court, and I don't have the image in front of me, but I believe it's about the same size as that, the same width east to west as the hard court. So, so I don't know if a soccer field is the same length east to west as a basketball court, but just keep in mind, obviously it would be a green space, people could play soccer, but, may not be the regulation field that we would have at McKee or other places, so.
I believe one of the people that emailed in said that some kids play soccer in the basement of one of the apartment buildings, which can't be bigger than the grassy area we're talking about. But, Julia, go ahead.
No, I want to mention about the side of the soccer field are different. This is what I want to be sure that we can maybe build the one that we have in McKee. We have several ones that they are the size of the soccer field are for the young kid, for not for adult, you know what I mean? So.
Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's kicking a ball around, and then there's playing soccer. I mean, yes, in those buildings you will find kids kicking a ball around. You'll find kids riding bicycles around, but it's not the same. I'm I think there's probably nobody on this council who hates parking lots as much as I do. And I thought long and hard about it, and I thought about coming in with a proposal to reduce the size of the parking lot. But the discussion, and if you had made this amendment a month ago, Dave, I probably would have voted for it. But I'm not going to vote for it tonight because I think there is a value to the fire accessibility, and I also think that this should not be the last park that we build in this neighborhood. We should be thinking to the future. And, you know, Dave, you and I are about the same age. When you and I were growing up, how many people did we see playing soccer? Zippo. Yeah. And so, you know, in another 20, 30 years, that's probably not going to be a thing anymore either. Things will move on to something else. I've been alive long enough to know that nothing stays forever. I look around, you know, we were talking earlier in the public safety meeting about McKee Farms Park, and there's a baseball diamond there. And, you know, some of us thought that baseball would never go away as a kid's activity, but there's hardly ever anybody in that diamond. There are people playing tennis. Now we're building, what is it, pickleball? I mean, there's stuff that comes and goes. This is how these things are. So, but I do hope that we will come up. I understand Randy's concern about having green space, and I think that's important. Oddly enough, there is a significant amount of green space in that neighborhood. It's just that it's all privately owned, and the current owner doesn't seem to have any interest in actually building recreational facilities for all the hundreds of kids who live up there. But I wish I could go along with getting rid of the parking lot, but I just can't tonight. I think it's something that's, it's not a big parking lot. It only looks like it holds about 25 cars or so. What is it, Scott? Wait,
roughly.
Anybody want to jump in?
Yeah, I don't know offhand, but I feel like 30 to 40 might be more accurate.
And I think depending on the activity that's going on, if we're talking about this as some of the comments tonight have been that this might be a regional destination, and there just isn't enough street parking over there to facilitate that. So I guess I'm going to vote against this amendment, but I do hope we consider figuring out the ice rink as we move on through this discussion.
All right, I've got Gabriella, then Jim, then Joe. Go ahead, Gabriella. Oh.
Gosh, I'm sorry. I was kind of directing this at Scott and Wade. In terms of I guess I have two questions. I'm concerned about ADA compliance and accessibility because I'm not sure that we can designate handicap parking on street parking. And I know that we should be able to have access for people that have limited mobility. I assume that some of those parking lot slots would be handicap spots. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, just in terms of, big picture stuff, in terms of why the parking lot, made sense. I think a couple reasons. Primary being what Chief Halford spoke to, this idea of, fire access. Secondarily, I think when we talked about the facility, we talked, regional draw, community draw, ice rink, covered structure. So yeah, if those go away, maybe a parking lot isn't as necessary. But I think the third piece, and I think we're talking about, it sounds like this will stay, is the shelter building. And again, that shelter building is set up to draw people, to draw events and activities. Family reunions, corporate events, picnics, loading, unloading, getting grandpa and grandma easily into the building. So again, I think those are the reasons we talk about parking lot. And then, to the handicap questions, yeah, I don't know about on-street handicap stuff, if that's a thing we do. Certainly if we had a parking lot remain, we would set it up to be ADA compliant. Scott, do you have any additional thoughts on that?
Nope, he's good.
And I guess one more point too, I think we talked earlier, with the clerk's department about this facility potentially serving as a polling location. So certainly if that was to happen at some point in the future, having a parking lot might be desired for that activity as well.
I have a second question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mayor.
Yeah,
Okay.
keep going.
And wait, I was wondering if it was possible for you, Scott, to pull up the rendering, because it looks like when I look at the renderings, it actually looks like there's quite a bit of green space adjacent to the park. It's just not park property, but there is like open green space between the buildings.
Yeah, there's a number of green space in that area. It's all owned by Plesco with plans for future development, I think, at this point. We've even inquired about using that as one of the sites for our rent-to-own program, and they're not interested in divesting any of that at this point in time for other options.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the image. I apologize. I don't know what's going on with my connection tonight. Maybe it's the weather, but it looks like it's not loading. But yeah, there's certainly scattered green spaces. Probably not the activity centers that you would see at McKee or a more suburban style park. I do want to point out again, across the street at the golf course, obviously it's set up for a golf course, but recently we have put some soccer fields, just kind of in an area where kids can run around a little bit and, more of that traditional green space aspect. So yeah.
Well, just to be clear, I'm going to support keeping the parking lot, mostly for accessibility purposes for people that have limited mobility and may want to use the shelter. And also, I mean, the polling place is a really good point as well. I do think this could potentially be a really good candidate for, if we had multiple polling places in a city, this would be a good candidate potentially for District 2. So that's all. Thanks.
All right. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, I asked a question about input on the parking lot or soccer field, because I do believe if we build slow, grow, and maintain, eventually we will need a parking lot. People talk about people coming from other cities and everything. I think at Leopold, you already have people coming in from other cities to use that bike track. And actually, I was at Quarry Ridge this past weekend. You had somebody from Baraboo coming into the city just to use that. So I think in the future, we probably will need a parking lot to accommodate those people, because it won't be much parking over there.
All right. I've got Joe, and then Randy, do you want to be on the list? Okay, you're next, and then Dave. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, the probably closest comparison I can make in my mind is Penn Park and the south side of Madison. And there's so many events there throughout the year. And I just notice at every one of those events that how many parking lots are in there, or how many spaces are in that little parking lot, Jim? I don't know, probably like 10 or something. It's just not enough, and there's always congestion, and I think it makes for challenges when you're trying to have an event. There is street parking, but I probably foresee this being a site of many events, like Wade mentioned. So I wouldn't be in favor of eliminating the parking lot, because I think it would just cause too many issues, with what its intended uses are in the future. Of course, it's for the neighborhood, and the neighborhood should be able to walk to it. But if it is the draw that we project it to be, I don't think we should get rid of that.
If I can just add on to that, Joe, you just made me think of some nightmares I had when I was the district commander of the South District, and we had to suspend parking rules on the street to accommodate. So,
Randy, go ahead.
So did we ever come up with an answer on how many parking stalls there are proposed?
About 26.
26 according to the rendering.
It's sizable, okay. Now, Tower Hill has no parking space, but they have events every weekend. I know that for a fact because I drive by it every weekend. heading to Highway 14. And it doesn't seem to be an issue with parking there, but that pavilion is shelter, community room, whatever you want to call it, is maxed out. I'm still going to vote to remove the parking. I'm just going to go down the road again, green space versus children. Or no, I should say probably children versus parking space, cars, so.
All right, Dave, go ahead.
Back to the ADA issue, you know, the shelter on Williamsburg Way, you know, we have no parking there. Madison used that as a polling place, which had to be ADA compliant, and it was no problem. There's a lot of events there. There's constantly softball. There can be softball, soccer, an event in the building at the same time. And people manage, you know, and there's grandparents or senior people that are, you know, wheelchairs and walkers that get in there. 25 parking spots is not going to make much of a dent if we have, you know, large events. There is parking across the street that probably could be made available, you know, for larger events. But I'm with Randy. I'm falling on the side of I want a place for the kids to be on grass playing soccer.
Ready to vote on the amendment? Looks like it. All right, so the amendment right now is to remove the parking lots and replace with a grassy field that can be flooded as an ice rink. So Tracy, let's do a roll call. So,
right.
Hold on a second, hold on. We're gonna need another
My
clarification.
question is, can we do this? Can we remove it without any consequences, like safety?
Is that a question for the chief?
For the chief, or, you know, I want to be sure that we can, you know.
I would say probably because there's other parks
No,
that are in a
Chad, what do
similar
you think?
location. I mean, Swan Creek doesn't have a parking spot. Snowstorm Prairie, there's a lot of parks than that.
Yeah, but.
Go ahead, Chad.
Okay.
Just in looking at the rendering that's submitted with the packet, page 8 on the supporting documents, if you click on the link, it appears to me, I don't know if this is to scale or not, but that the parking lot is roughly the same size as the multi-use covered structure. So, and if that covered structure was designed to cover a basketball court, I'm assuming it's slightly larger than the size of a basketball court. Is that the, how big is the hard court weight? Is it one full basketball court, or was it larger than that?
Yep, it's a basketball court and then like a little bit of a buffer, you know, around the edges. So a basketball court, then a little bit of a buffer space, yep.
So in effect, it appears to me that the parking lot is about the size of a buffered basketball court. So if that's, you know, the size of the green space that the council would like to make available, then that's what the choices you're making.
Gabriella, do you have a clarification?
Yeah, I was wondering if the chief Poldmarker could comment on like EMS, because I know there's the fire issue, but like I just haven't heard anything about the EMS ambulance. Like could an ambulance drive up on that terrace to get towards the bike track, or?
So from what I understand, and the drawings that were presented to us early on, the main entrance for this building, there's a couple of places where you can make entrance. The idea of having the paved parking around the back was intended for a couple of purposes. One was the polling, which Wade already spoke to. The fact that it provided ADA compliancy, especially since some of the different venues that have been planned around the building have some attraction for those that are wheelchair bound. And so that was one of the reasons for bringing that a little bit closer to the building. It also provided us with the ability to drive around the building. So the way that things were designed was to allow us to get into the building and without backing up, because with larger vehicles that creates risk, especially when kids are around. We preferred to drive forward versus backward. So the whole access around the building was designed so that we didn't have to back up. we could drive in and out without having to be too concerned about people walking into moving vehicles. Obviously, there's other ways that we can prevent that. It was one safety and security measure that was put in place to limit the amount of backwards driving that we had to do with larger vehicles. And we also took into consideration the fact that even parks, when they're picking up things like trash, they have the ability to drive in closer to the area where they would have to address some of those park maintenance issues. So those were some of the things that were talked about. This was designed to not only accommodate larger fire vehicles, but also the ambulance.
Jay, do you have a?
Yeah, well, since Mr. Google is available to us while we sit here, a basketball court looks like it's about 100 feet by 50 feet, roughly. Actual soccer field looks like it's 360 feet by 225 feet. Looking at that parking lot, it looks to me on the diagram like the parking lot's slightly smaller than the hard surface, but whatever it is, it looks like it's 1/6 the size of a soccer field. So the idea of converting that into a soccer field just doesn't seem to be plausible.
That's an adult soccer field, right? They have different sizes.
I'm sure that many things come in different sizes, but baseball diamonds always have 90 feet bases.
Absolutely. All right. Are we ready to go to voting on the amendment itself? All right. So again, the amendment is that you'd remove the parking lot and replace it with a grassy field that has the ability to be flooded as an ice skating rink. All right. Go ahead, Tracy.
Alder Allen,
No.
Alder Radafrada,
No.
Alder Gerhart,
No.
Alder Herbst,
Aye.
Alder Maldonado,
Nay.
Alder Strassman,
No.
Alder Udell,
Aye.
Alder Wheeler,
No.
2 to 6.
Fails. All right. All right. So back to the main motion. So that failed. And so the main motion is still no ice skating rink and no covering over the basketball courts. Jay?
Well, I'll try this a second time. I would like to make a motion to add the ice skating rink back into the plan.
The one on the basketball courts?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Second.
Seconded by Gabriella. You want to speak to it?
Yeah, and as I said before, my reasons for doing that are, if this is an amenity we want to add later, it's going to be very difficult to do so. If you're gonna even want to have the possibility of doing this, the time to do it is now. Now, I didn't think about this earlier, or I would have gotten more information to you. I don't know if it's possible to build this with the capacity to add the ice rink later and just not buy the physical equipment that makes that happen, to put in the plumbing, to put in the electricity, to do whatever needs to be done to make that happen, but just not complete that section of it. But regardless, I think we need to, at the bare minimum, make this ice rink ready, because that was something that was mentioned by the children in this neighborhood. And like I said, I've seen kids out there. The building that I lived in before I moved to Swan Creek was the building right behind the dialysis center. And the back section of that parking lot used to flood every winter because of the topography of the area. And I would see kids out there trying to do something on that little patch of ice in the middle of the parking lot. It didn't work very well, but I mentioned kids quite a lot in my initial comments on this, Randy, and I think there's a lot of things that kids are going to take advantage of. I've watched kids try to ride their bicycles in between the apartment buildings. So in the building that I lived in, the back of it had porches with balconies that were above, and then there was another building behind that that had porches and balconies. And the distance between my porch and the building behind me was about 30 feet. But within that 30 feet, there were trees. So watching these kids ride their bicycles trying to dodge the trees and occasionally crash into them and hit a hill. So, I mean, I think the bike amenities that we've added here, the all-wheel idea is a great idea. But I also think giving them another opportunity for recreation in the area is important. And I appreciate the desire to want to build a soccer field, and I think we can do that in the future. I think that's something we can add at a fairly minimal cost if we can acquire a piece of land. Because soccer fields don't require much in the way of infrastructure to build. But I think if we're gonna, if we want to even have the opportunity of having another ice rink in the city, in an area where there's a lot of kids, this is the time, this is the place.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, excuse my ignorance for asking. To Wade, this is, if there's an ice rink, it converts, like it can convert back to a basketball court when the weather is warmer, or, sorry, I might have missed that part.
Yes, yeah.
The answer is yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
they put it, yep. They
That's
put
my
it
only
on
question.
there and then they remove it. Yep, absolutely, yeah. Julia?
Yeah, the city of Monona, they have a portable ice rink. So maybe that could be another option. Instead of, I don't know, what is the infrastructure for a portable versus not portable? But I see maybe we can have that. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's what I kind of think of this as, is because it can move. I mean, in theory, it could go somewhere else. It's just a structure that comes in. One question I had, I think you talked about some parks. Monona, though, they charge to use that ice skating rink, don't they? Because that's the concern I guess I would have, is that this ice skating rink.
I've seen the
would be
charger for
charged.
activity. They have a league that they want to practice and all of that. I think so.
Yeah, and they have people that have, well, actually, I talked to one of the elders in Monona, and they said that they have trouble staffing it as well. Gabriella, go ahead.
Just in terms of the payment, like we could waive the fee for Fitchburg residents. We could make a payment for people from out of the city and then make it free for Fitchburg residents as a way to generate revenue. That's something that we could do. But I like this area because it has that, because there's those indoor spaces in the community center. I think this is a pretty functional place to have an ice rink. And again, I mean, like when you go back to those original documents that Wade shared about what the community identified, like winter activities was on there. Yeah, and I think it'd be a great opportunity. I think it's something that we at least need to consider and take a vote on. Thanks.
All right, ready to vote on this amendment? All right, so this is to put the ice rink back into the proposal on the basketball courts. Go ahead, Tracy.
Alder Allen.
Aye.
Alder Radafrada.
I will say aye.
Alder Gerhardt.
Aye.
Alder Herbst.
Nay.
Alder Maldonado.
Aye.
Alder Strassman.
No.
Alder Udell.
No.
Alder Wheeler.
No.
Tie vote 4-4.
I will also say no. All right. Julia?
Can I add, can I make an amendment to the?
Yeah.
It's like, if we can build, we can install the hard cover when we collect more fee from the corridor and park dedication fee. We can add it in the future.
I don't know if we can commit to that.
Because it's dedicated, the money, the park fee dedication that is coming from the corridor should be going to that area.
I think
This
it's
is a
probably,
community park, it should be going there. I don't know.
I guess I would think the amendment should probably be something like when we have more fee in lieu of from this neighborhood,
Yeah.
we want to
Okay.
revisit adding this possibly. Because I don't think we can commit to doing it without, like, because the future council can just say, yeah, whatever, we don't care. But I think the idea behind it is that if there are more,
Okay.
is there more money that we want to revisit this and reconsider adding it at that point in time?
The word,
Because I don't
Could it be worded in such a way as to be advisory?
Right, yeah.
You know,
I mean,
at
that's
a
essentially-
whereas clause that would be advisory to future councils, that as additional park fee improvement or fee in lieu of
To use
are contributed to the city as regards to new developments that the city consider using them for the covered hard structure.
Yeah, I would like that language. I would like to have a language there that, yes, that
this council
advise
Advise,
the future
right.
council,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, so the motion then is to advise future councils to consider adding a roof over the basketball court when more fees are available.
Yeah, from the corridor, yeah.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Joe. You want to speak to that any further?
No, I think
All right. All right. Gabriella, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, could we, again, just Wade and Scott, because I just want to clarify the timeline, because my understanding is because this was pushed back a month, that we can no longer start construction this year. And therefore, we won't break ground until 2023. And so potentially we can add something to the project with this council, because this will definitely be the same council through April of 2023. And my understanding is that based on the last conversation we had, there's looking like another $700,000 coming in through developments just in this neighborhood in park improvement fees, which would cover something like the cover of the hard court in full with just park fees and no debt financing.
And this wouldn't preclude us from doing this later in the year if more money does come in this year. But until that happens, we can't assume that. We think that'll happen, but we can't assume that. But that doesn't preclude this council in November from doing this. To bring it forward if more, yeah. So I mean, when you say future, it's not necessarily years. It could be later this year, whenever more funds are available.
But presumably we'll know later this year if
Hopefully
we have more park funds available. You know, like because it's not going to be, we can't break ground until 2023. Am I wrong? Is that the case?
Well, there's some design at one point in time too. Wade, go ahead.
I was going to say, it'd be the desire of both the staff team and the consultant to wait till spring. That would be our recommendation.
Yeah, so there's a window here if those other projects do come forward. So. All right, so motion is to advise that if more funds become available, we revisit putting a covering over the basketball courts. All right. Don't see anything else. Tracy, why don't you do a roll call just in case?
Alder Allen,
Sure. Aye.
Alder Radafrada,
Yes.
Alder Gerhardt,
Aye.
Alder Herbst,
Nay.
Alder Maldonado,
Aye.
Alder Strassman,
No.
Alder Udell,
Aye.
Alder Wheeler,
No.
5-3, motion carried.
All right. Back to the main motion. Any further amendments?
I want to just make one. All right.
All right.
What I would like us to do, because we have a long time now, obviously, between now and when we start building this, there's going to be design work, there's going to be engineering work that's got to be done. What I would like during that process is for the council to be given options about providing the basic infrastructure that would be needed to provide for the covering and for the ice rink, just so that we have options when the time comes. If we want to add those things or if we want to make provision for them in the future, we can do it. Because I'm telling you, if we decide now that we're not ever doing these things, going back and trying to dig holes and put in plumbing and put in footings and all that, it's just going to be a nightmare. So I think at least getting an option for what it will cost to put in some of the basic infrastructure would be good.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's a motion. That's an amendment.
All right, so I need a second, I guess, maybe.
Can you repeat the amendment?
So I guess it's
to have an engineering option to provide
essentially the same thing.
additional infrastructure for the covering and for the ice rink, should the council choose to go in those.
Second.
All right, seconded by Joe. Scott, did you have anything you want to add?
I just wanted to clarify that there's two different types of it definitely would be refrigerated ice. And what you're referring to is getting the coils and all of that in the concrete.
Right.
But then there is another system that Julia alluded to that's portable. So you have to physically put the coils and all of those kinds of things. So, we're really not precluded to not doing ice in the future if we don't put the coils in the concrete to begin.
To get to Dave's eternal concern, that requires a lot of staff resources.
Right.
Chad, hold on. Chad, go ahead.
I actually appreciate the motion, Jay. That was a question that I was going to pose to the council to give staff direction on whether or not we should be looking at design options to put in infrastructure, in particular for the covered structure over the basketball hard court, so that we can at least perhaps consider pouring footings for that or those sorts of things and get costs for that.
All right. Shannon?
I just have a question. Like, I don't understand why we're voting if all of this stuff is up for question later on. Like, what's the point of all of our amendments? We're voting on amendments and then we're changing it to change it for the future. We're getting off track and it's getting very frustrating. I get it with the skating rink, but maybe if the option, I like Julia's option of if we wanted to get a portable for later on, I get it, but now we're going back from what we agreed on before with no ice rink, and now we're putting it, well, maybe in the future, maybe we should put doing all of this stuff. And we're getting way, way out of hand.
All right, Chad.
If I may, I think that the direction that the council is going to provide tonight is going to allow staff to work with the design firms to actually put together really final drawings for the council to consider. And any future adjustments to those drawings are going to only add more delays to the project and also more cost for the design and engineering firm to continue to reevaluate and redraw those. We're receiving a lot of feedback similar to this from our consulting firms who are designing our road projects, that the more we kick these things back to them, the more it drives up our cost to design them and delays the construction. And when we get these things out for bid, which could also affect our ability to get better pricing if we're bidding these during the busiest times of the construction season. So to Alder Strassman's point, I would caution the council on making further adjustments after you provide direction to staff tonight. I certainly support us at least presenting options to the council that would include things, like footings for covered hard structures, and perhaps, a consideration for installing, infrastructure for a more permanent ice rink. But I do want to caution folks that we can't continue to change what we're asking our consulting firms to design after they get to 90% or 80% and then say, well, let's go back to 40% and draw this up again. So please keep that in mind.
All right, Jay, go ahead.
I think we're dealing with this right now. At one point, we were dealing with this from a satellite view. And now we're getting to the point where we're dealing with it from maybe a jet aircraft view. And eventually we'll get to the point where we're dealing with it from a drone view. And the issue here is that more information for the council to make decisions is always better. We're making big decisions here, and these decisions are going to be affecting things for generations. And so, in my view, having more information is a better thing to do.
All right, ready to vote on the amendment? All right, so this is to have staff bring forward options for at least providing the infrastructure for an ice rink and the covering on the basketball court as we proceed with design. All right, Tracy, go ahead.
Alder Allen.
Aye.
Alder Rada.
Aye.
Alder Gerhardt.
Aye.
Alder Herbst.
Nay.
Alder Maldonado.
Aye.
Alder Strassman.
No.
Alder Udell.
No.
Alder Wheeler. Tie vote.
I will also say no. All right. So now to the amended resolution. Any final amendments? All right. And again, this part needs 2/3. So this is, yeah, so it is the hub design. There's no ice rink. There's no covering over the basketball court. And as more money becomes available, we want to advise the council at that point to reconsider adding a cover over the basketball courts. All right, and again, this vote needs 2/3 because it is a budget amendment since we had originally only allocated $2.86 million or $2.68 million to it. All right, Tracy, go ahead, please.
Alder Allen.
Aye.
Alder Rada.
Aye.
Alder Gerhardt.
Aye.
Alder Herbst.
Aye.
Alder Maldonado.
Aye.
Alder Strassman.
Aye.
Alder Udell.
Aye.
Alder Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, great, thank you. All right, back to Plan Commission, item number 2, and I'll just do administrator's report when we do mayor's and all the reports, if that's all right.
Can I say something? Oh, he left. Oh, no, he's there. Wait. Can I say something?
Yeah, quick, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I would like, this is your last meeting with us, so I would like to say thank you very much. I learned a lot from you in the last couple of years. We are going to miss you here. I hope to see you again, but thank you very much for everything. You touch a lot of big projects here in the city, and we really appreciate your effort.
Good luck at the DNR.
Yeah, and just so you know, I think this is the first time in my 10 years I've been moved up on an agenda, so I thank you for that. And right back to all of you, I enjoyed working with you, and glad I could serve the city and work with you all. And yeah, hopefully our paths will cross again in the future. So thank you.
Yep, thanks, Wade. All right, Randy, do you want to do Plan Commission number 2? We were back on Plan Commission, item number 2. We did number 1 already. We approved that, so we're on number 2, the CSM.
I just need to find my notes here. Motion to approve certified survey map request CS-2434-22 by Dan Day, agent for Viridian Homes, for approval of a certified survey map to dedicate as public park outlot 7 of the Crescent Crossing subdivision at the intersection of Spark Street, Minone Lane, and Wildcat. Postponed from April 12th.
Second.
Submitted by Jay. Did Plan Commission approve?
Yes.
Did Park Commission approve?
We approve, but we have a lot of concerns.
All right. Do you want to speak to this, Randy?
I think actually 2 and 3, are they not similar? Because it's based on the outlots. Well, all right, I will speak to it, but my notes are going to include the next item 3 as well, because they're outlot 7 and outlot 11 in item 3.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, first of all, the Crescent Crossing final plat designated outlot 7 and outlot 11 as private open spaces. The developer proposes to dedicate outlot 7 as a public park and part of outlot 11 as a public park. This CSA 2434-22 will create outlot 14 as a public park, and then will create outlot 12 to remain a private open space for a dog park, and outlot 13 to be dedicated as a public park, if you can make heads or tails of that. But there's a public lots going on and dog parks.
Okay. So I think number 3 is the dog park one. So we're
Correct.
not on that one yet, but
We're not
so
there
this,
yet.
So this one
They're
is
intertwined.
separate. Yep. All right. Any questions or comments at all? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay.
Aye.
All right, that one's approved. Next one, Randy.
Motion to approve certified survey map request CS-2435-22 by Dan Day, agent for Viridian Homes, for approval of a certified survey map to divide lot 11 of the Crescent Crossing subdivision into 2 parcels, one parcel for private open space and the second parcel dedicated as public park, located at and postponed from April 12, 2022 meeting.
Is there a second? Sent by Jade, the plan approve? Yes, they did. The park approved?
correct.
This is the one with concerns. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Jay, go ahead.
I just had a question on this because I was looking at the map, and this is the weirdest outlot I've ever seen. And outlot 12, which is dedicated as private open space, who's going to be responsible for maintaining that, mowing the grass, all that kind of nonsense?
Jay?
If it's private open space, my belief would be it would remain the responsibility of the developer. If it's private, it's not been.
Well, that's what it says. It says it's private open
Right.
space.
Right.
But do we have any kind of developer agreement that states that? Because I didn't see anything like that in the documentation.
I don't know what the contents of the developer agreement would be as it relates to this. This outlot probably wasn't even in existence when the developer agreement was put together.
Anything else? I know you said the park commission had concerns about the quality of the park, and that's to our standards.
Yeah, we have, Park Commission, we have a lengthy discussion about this, the lot assigned for the dog park, because in the beginning, this parcel was supposed to be a private dog park, and now the developer decided to dedicate this land to the city, so it is becoming a public dog park. Some of the question with the becoming a public dog park, the plan commissioner discussed about how to access the park, where to park, and because the street there are very narrow, you have, I don't know, you have been in that area, there are not too many space where you can park, and also what about the ADA parking? It's gonna be a public dog park. So we have all those concerns, and also about the use of this parcel. And then we asked the developer when it's gonna come back to parks, when they have a better design or finalized, they need to bring forward like a parking, plan, connectivity, because in park we discuss how do you access to the dog park, and there is only one entrance in one of the corner, and it's a split in a kind of in 2 dog park. One is for a small dog and one for larger dog. How is going to be connected though? So I don't know. So there were a lot of things that we have a lot of concern and there were a lot of unanswered questions. So we are hoping that the developer is going to bring forward, answer all of our questions, because we are very concerned about the use of this park, the land, the parcel.
Yeah, so this is really just subdividing it, but they are coming back with some of those, because there's someone to answer a question. That's great. Chad? Or, go ahead. Jim, go ahead.
I guess my one question is, can we have a private open space? I mean, didn't that get discussed?
Well, I think there's plenty of private open spaces. I mean, it doesn't count towards their park dedication that they owe us. So, I mean, other neighborhoods have private spots in them. Even like apartment buildings, for example, a pool would be a private spot, really.
Okay. But it just can't be dedicated to the city.
It doesn't count towards what they owe us for park land.
Got it.
Correct. Yep. Did you want to add anything, Chad?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that, yes, the action for the council tonight is whether or not they want to accept this as dedicated land for public use, i.e. public park usage. And the developer has presented a proposal to the city about actually doing the park improvements for both of these outlots that you're talking about tonight. And what we've told them is that we are open to having to drafting agreement, much like we would do if we were to pay a developer for roadway improvements, so that they were done to city specifications. Bidding requirements would be necessary. They would need to bring their proposal back to the city, talk with Scott and his team, also obviously go through Park Commission and City Council to get approval for what their intended or requested improvements are to be. So the council and Park Commission will certainly get an opportunity to participate in decision-making on how specifically these outlots are utilized for parks and what sorts of amenities would be on those and uses.
Jay?
Well, I think part of that discussion needs to be what this private open space means and who's going to maintain it. I mean, you can tell me tonight that the developer is going to do it, but after all these buildings are built, the developer is going to be long gone. And I doubt that they're going to be lugging a lawnmower out there every couple of weeks to mow the grass in the summertime. So I think private open space to me is kind of a meaningless statement without knowing who the owner of it is going to be in perpetuity, because, you know, and if we end up getting stuck maintaining it, I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but then it just needs to be dedicated and become part of the public open space.
And it might be the homeowners association, but Chad can verify that. Yeah, Julia, go
we
ahead.
asked a question in park, and they told us it's going to be, they are going to maintain that.
The homeowners association? Okay, so it won't be
Well,
the
then
developer.
I would like to see the covenants that demonstrate that, if that's going to be the way it is.
All right. Yeah. All right, seeing nothing else, we can go to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay? All right, that is approved. All right, Public Works. Dave?
I would move approval of Resolution R2122, approving 2022 tractor purchase.
Second.
Second by Jay. Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
The Finance approve?
Finance approved.
All right, and what's this?
This is replacing our 2009 Case tractor with a newer model. We questioned, you know, growing up on a farm, we had tractors much older than this, but Public Works Director assured us this was needed. A larger unit was needed to run some of the PTO equipment we have, and they receive a relatively good trade-in price of $65,000 on this. I would add that this is the price of roughly $200,000 minus the $65,000. We're $10K over the CIP budget, but apparently we have enough funds in there that this is acceptable.
All right, any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay? That's approved. Next one.
I'll move approval of Resolution R8622, authorizing acceptance of 2022 chip seal, crack seal, and pavement marking bid.
Second.
Second by Randy. The Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
The Finance approve?
Finance approved.
All right, and you want to speak this, Dave?
This is an annual maintenance on our streets. We had two bidders, and the bids were only $3,000 apart, which you know, was a very close bid. The successful bidder has done work or similar work in the city before, and the Public Works Director is comfortable with selecting them for this work. It's both, I would note it's both chip seal, crack seal, and pavement marking, so all three.
I know it's really important for maintaining the roads
Yes.
and maintenance, all that stuff. All right, any questions? Gabriella?
Yeah, I was curious if Public Works has seen a map or some sort of public document we can share with people about where this is going to happen over the course of the summer. If that document exists.
There is, Gabriella. It was, I didn't print it out, but it was in the packet of information. We had Board of Public Works showing where this work was scheduled. I'll have to send a note to Bill, see if he can forward it to you. Is that
Yeah,
acceptable?
it'd be great to just share that out with constituents, so that'd be great.
Jay?
The packet for tonight doesn't have a map, but it's got a listing of all the streets that are covered by this resolution.
All right. Oh, there's a map in there too, apparently.
It does?
Page 9. All right. It's all there somewhere.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I guess it shows up.
All right. So seeing nothing else, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. Next one, Dave.
Next, I'll move for approval of Resolution R8722, approving an agreement for engineering services for Purcell Road's resurfacing.
Seconded by Jay. The Public Works approved.
Public Works approved.
The Finance approved.
Finance approved.
All right. Do you want to speak to this?
I can speak to it. There is we're applying for a grant, or there's state, federal money that they want to do quick turnaround rural projects, and we feel this qualifies. We have no guarantee that we'll get the grant to do this work, but we're submitting it at this point with hopes of obtaining funding. It's federal money for this, and again, they've targeted rural roads.
All right. And we've got Steve Arnold, who's stayed with us the whole time, wants to comment. Go ahead, Steve. There you go.
Steve Arnold, I forgot to mention earlier, 2530 Targhee Street. When these were referred out, I mentioned to you that we're not sure where we need to advocate during the process of these road resurfacing or reconstruction projects. This calls for the engineering firms that are selected to engineer the road to a typical rural section, and we would like to see these busy, and these comments apply to both this item and the next item, and I will not speak twice. But we would like to see these relatively busy bicycle routes have paved shoulders. In addition to the safety benefits for bicyclists and motorists, it will also extend the pavement life because the pavement crumbles from the edge. So I don't know if that requires an amendment or if it's just something that staff tells the consultant, or if the council has to make a decision, but we would again urge, I'm speaking for myself, I would urge you to pave those shoulders.
All right, thank you. All right, questions, comments? Is that something that we can ask for during the design to give us the difference between the two?
I can see if that could be done. And both of these items are obviously contingent upon grant funding being awarded. And the reason you're seeing them now is because we know we'll have a tight timeline in order to comply with the grant requirements and getting these projects started. So we needed to get this portion of the process taken care of in advance so we can move within the timelines identified by the grant. I will talk to Bill Balke and see if the design firm can provide us with both options for council consideration when the design comes back, if we're selected for the grants.
All right, anything else? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that one's approved. Go ahead, Dave.
I'll move approval of Resolution R8822, approving an agreement for engineering services for Grandview Road and Vroman Road resurfacing.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. The Public Works approved.
Public Works approved.
The Finance approved.
Finance approved.
And Steve Arnold has registered ditto, same comments as the last one.
Same exact issue on this.
All right, so again, we're trying to get funds and a grant to do this. If we don't get the grant, we're not going to do it. Okay. Any questions? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And opposed, nay.
All right, so that is approved. Anything else you want to add, Dave?
Nope.
All right, Parks Commission, we did the 2 resolutions. Anything you want to add quick?
Time, I want to keep all of that for next meeting, so.
Excellent. Library Board?
Our next meeting is next week.
All right, Commission on Aging Well.
We'll be meeting next week also.
All right, RCC?
No report.
All right, what about TTC?
Meets this Thursday, and I will note that in the consent agenda, there was a pretty significant TTC agenda item. What is it? R10122, and that includes the draft of the Fitchburg Transit Plan and also a draft of the final Madison Metro Transit route with proposed amendments with specific costs and which ones are recommended, which ones are not recommended by Andrew McFadden. So worthwhile to take a look at. And if you have anyone asking questions about Madison Metro, those are where the most up-to-date answers will be. But we'll look at it at the second meeting in May. Thanks.
All right, thank you. CETA.
I move approval of Resolution R-75-22, approving an investor station service contract between the City of Fitchburg and B-Cycle LLC for the purpose of providing a portion of the capital investment for the bike infrastructure to launch the Fitchburg B-Cycle program as amended by CETA.
Second.
All right, seconded by Randy, and he said CETA approved, it sounds like, with an amendment. Did Finance approve?
Finance approved, yes.
Did you approve the amended version that CETA did?
Yes.
Okay. All right, do you want to speak to this, Jim, or do you want?
I see Mike is still on, so if he wants to take it away, I think.
All right, Mike, you're awake.
Sure. Good evening, Council. The amended resolution and agreement would authorize the mayor to sign the agreement and approves the $50,000 capital investment from CETA Sports-Related Promotional Expense Fund. The agreement between the city and B-Cycle LLC will launch the Fitchburg B-Cycle program with 56 stocks, with the locations determined by B-Cycle, the Fitchburg Bike Committee, the Fitchburg Chamber, and the private sector sponsors. And B-Cycle did raise the $50,000 private sector match to match CETA's $50,000. Because the source of the funds for CETA's $50,000 were the room tax dollars, you'll see in the agreement that it calls for one of the stations to be located at Hatchery Hill, where 2 of our hotel properties are located, and then one of the stations at Orchard Point, where the other 2 hotel properties are located. And then under the surrender provision, in the event that the program would terminate prior to the end of the 3-year term, then there would be a recapture of some of those dollars. As the council probably remembers, that you've already authorized a TAP grant application that would expand the launch of this program. So we're not anticipating that there would be a termination, but we just had that language in there as a safeguard. But we're excited, hopefully with your consideration tonight, in support of this, to be able to launch Fitchburg's B-Cycle program. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, excellent. We've got Steve Arnold here. It doesn't say you want to speak. Do you want to speak after all?
I'd like to speak.
Excellent, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Steve Arnold again, 2530 Targhee Street. In our search to become a more bicycle-friendly city and perhaps be recognized as gold, this will be a game changer. B-Cycle or bike sharing, bike rentals are a form of public transit. They will help many of our residents with their transportation needs, as well as folks will be able to check out B-Cycle fobs from the Fitchburg Library, even if they don't have a membership, have to have a library card, and then they can be on their way exploring our trails and visiting our businesses. So I'm here to thank CETA and thank you, Council, in advance for this significant investment in our community, which will pay amazing dividends as it has. If you ever go to downtown Madison, you can always recognize the B-Cycles from the daytime running lights as they're coming at you from a far distance away. Of course, the distinctive white e-bikes. But we're going to see a tremendous benefit from this, and I thank you for supporting it.
All right, thank you. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, as a member of the bike committee and sort of conversations with staff throughout this process. I highly endorse it. I think the other part of the goal journey is sort of where cycling is accessible, and the idea of cycling being accessible regardless of, you know, ability, income level, age, and you know, ability, disability, right, is really important. And I think, you know, one, the consideration of it being in some of our stands being in some of our H&I neighborhoods will help get us towards that goal journey as well. So there's definitely spaces that as a bike committee we've scouted out. I think the other piece is, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, like now B-cycles have sort of an electric assist as well, correct?
Yeah, they're all
Yeah, all B-cycle bikes in Madison are electric.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, I think that it doesn't just make it for recreation; it also makes it, you know, a potential source for folks to be able to just get around places. So strongly urge my council members to support this.
Julia, go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is, when are we planning to install this in the city?
This spring,
This spring?
as soon as they can get them out there.
Oh, okay.
These things are warehoused.
As soon as we prove it.
I think that
Yeah, soon.
I think that the gating factor right now is, along with your agreements tonight, they have to finalize locations, and this involves some negotiation with sponsors. So I was just discussing it with one of the sponsors this evening about where the Hatchery Hill Station should go, and that's to be determined.
All right, Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add a little bit more information. If this is approved tonight, we're looking at between July and August for the equipment to come in and have it installed. Mark Hamilton of the Bike Committee, he also requested that Trek have some of these bikes at some of our events around Fitchburg so that people can see them and ride the bikes and everything else like that. So, I mean, it's a really good program. I guess it was 5 years in the making, you know, with the Bike Committee really pushing this, so.
Great. Gabriella.
I just want to say this is awesome. I'm so excited this is coming. And I love that they're electric bikes, because that's a really interesting mode of transportation that I think people might consider, but they might not consider it unless they've had a chance to actually use one. And I think that's a great, because not everyone can bike to work or is able to, but an electric bike really opens up that possibility for people that aren't necessarily in shape enough to bike for that long. So I think it's really exciting. Thanks for all the hard work to get this to this place, and I'm excited that we'll be seeing it in July, August.
Yeah, I'm very excited about having this in the city as well. Dave, go ahead.
Just a question, does the, my wife has one, and I think they go fast, they go pretty fast, and it's important that you have a helmet on. Is there a requirement for, people that would be using these to wear a helmet so that we, if they fall off and are injured severely, is the city going to be sued? What's our liability? That's my only concern. I'm all for electric bikes, but
Yeah.
I am concerned about this issue.
Yeah, there's no way to have them only work if someone has a helmet on, unfortunately. But they should be wearing a helmet. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, there are 3 classes of e-bikes, and I think the ones that you're concerned about are the ones with throttles. The Class 2, that you just power them up and you don't have to pedal assist. Class 1 and 3 have maximum speeds of 20 and 28 miles per hour, and they are pedal assist, so to get them going that fast, you need to pedal pretty hard. There was a gigantic failed national experiment requiring helmets. The one I'm thinking of is Australia. It discourages bicyclists from, I don't have a helmet, so I can't use the system, and especially for bike share. Seattle had a similar ordinance, and they repealed it because the public health statistics say that while there is some risk of hurting your head in bicycling, a bigger risk is not biking and not getting the exercise and not being fit, so that the bike advocacy organizations at every level all encourage everybody up and down to wear helmets all the time. However, maybe not with your riding tricycles. But at the same token, they're universally opposed to mandatory helmet laws. So if I could continue, one more thing I forgot on our very first agenda item today was that I did distribute ride guides and county maps on behalf of the county and the bike fed that are free for the public to take, but I wanted you guys to have the opportunity to see some of the great events that are happening even here in Fitchburg. All three of our events are being advertised by three big events. The Festival of Speed, the Boys and Girls Club ride, and the Pick Me Up at the Border are all in the ride guide and in the Chamber's ad. And there's some terrific articles in there too that you'll might enjoy.
All right,
Thank you for indulging me.
All right, Jay.
I just wanted to, this isn't something to take action on tonight, but it's something to kind of bookmark. Most people who are riding a regular bicycle are not going to be riding at 28 miles an hour. And so I do have some concerns about possible conflicts between those faster devices and someone just riding along on our bike paths. I also was in a neighborhood meeting I was in a few weeks ago. It was mentioned to me that with our bike paths, our paved shoulder areas, a lot of older people are now using some kind of three-wheeled bicycle, and we may have to rethink how we do those paved shoulders bike lanes in the future, because they may not be wide enough to accommodate the way many of our residents would like to use them.
All right. Seeing nothing else, we can go ahead and vote. All in favor of the B-Cycle program, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. That is approved. Anything else for CETA for now?
Yes, Andrew Potts and Jennifer Clary were reelected chair and vice chair. And then after we talked about the B-Cycle, just some interesting stats from Chris Armstrong of Avante Properties. He was just mentioning of his residents and their buildings. I think they were interesting stats. 20% Epic, 20% the healthcare corridor, 65% in-state, and 35% of the residents are from out of state. So people are coming, and basically they're not worried about vacancy rates that much anymore. It's more construction costs and interest rates. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Ag and Rural Affairs.
We have not met, so nothing to report.
All right, EMS.
We meet next week.
All right, Bicycle Committee.
Nothing related to the committee itself, but there are a series of events that I mentioned before that are happening throughout Fitchburg. Today we had one in King James Way Park, otherwise known as Pocket Park, bike repair / bike rodeo. Next week there's actually one in the same location that will include bike tours of different spaces throughout the community. So there will be, that's the 17th, which is next Tuesday, 4:30 to 6:30, and at 5:30, and 6, there will be guided rides throughout the neighborhood. So we'd be leaving from King James Way Park, going to Little John's first, then going to the new proposed Latino Chamber of Commerce, and then to Redeemer City Church. So I highly encourage folks to, come out to that. I would say probably about 25 people showed up today and got their bike fixed, and there was like a line to do it. So thank you to the Wisconsin Bike Fed and Dream Bikes, and also the city for hosting this. There will also be 2 additional events in Western Hills Park the following Tuesday, the 24th, and then on the 31st. So I encourage folks to stop by and get their bike fixed, but also learn how to make repairs.
Sounds good. Tree advisory. Tree advisory? Yeah, tree.
Report.
All right, landmarks. Hey, did you meet in landmarks, Shannon? Nope. All right.
Housing Advisory?
Our next meeting's not till June, so no report.
All right. Healthy Neighborhoods?
Well, we already shot our wad, but I do have, with Wade leaving, we aren't going to have a staff contact, and because most of the projects that we had been working on have gotten to kind of a equilibrium point right now, it is unlikely we're going to have another meeting until the new Wade is hired and on staff. So it might be a couple months before we have another meeting.
All right. And Finance?
Finance, motion to approve Resolution R-93-22, updating memorandum of understanding between Fitchburg Fire Department and the Wisconsin DNR.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. Did Finance approve?
Finance approved.
All right. And do you want the chief to speak to this? Or do you...
Sure, we'll have the chief since he's waited around all evening.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What you have before you is an updated memorandum of understanding between us and the DNR. Basically, because we're a cooperative area, the DNR does not have a fire station within the city of Fitchburg. It allows us to act on their behalf. And then if we were to fight fire either on their property with any of their structures or within the wildland, they would reimburse our time and also pay for the use of our equipment. So that amounts to about $100 per day for engines that are used, about $100 per hour, and then $50 per hour for ATVs that are used. And then for all of our personnel, there's about a $15 per hour per firefighter charge that we can assume, once again, if we're fighting fire within the DNR property. So those are the only real changes. We've had this MOU before. This is an update of the previous agreement, and those are the only changes that are before you.
All right. Any questions? All right. Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? All right. That is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next one.
Next one, yes. Motion to approve ordinance 2022-0-14, amending purchasing and public contracts ordinances, Chapter 10, Article 4, Sections 10 through 304, 10 through 307, 10 through 308, 10 through 311, 10 through 312, 10 through 313, 10 through 317, 10 through 338, 10 through 431, 10 through 432, and 10 through 439 of Fitchburg General Code of Ordinances. It's a tongue twister.
Second by Jay. And did Finance approve?
Finance approved.
Do you want Misty to speak to this?
Oh, let's Misty if she's
awake.
online.
She's
yeah.
here. Go ahead.
All right.
Ready to go. As you can tell from the title, there are quite a few ordinance changes being proposed. The impetus of this project was with the large amount of federal grant funding that the city is either applying for or in some cases being awarded, like the ARPA funds, the various transportation projects, some that we talked about tonight. Whenever we accept federal grants, there's a lot of very specific requirements on how that money can be spent. And so I went through a project with our external auditors to make sure that our purchasing policies very clearly complied with those federal grant requirements. So I'd say there's two kind of buckets of changes. One is the things that are required by the federal grants, but we only want to require them for city purchases when we have federal grants that require them. So you'll see there's a separate section in the ordinances that's being created and includes 17 new things that all must need to be followed and documented that we followed them. And then there's some of those items that are required for federal grants, but also really great best practices that we want to implement for all of the purchases that the city does. So those are all included in the packet. There's also a staff memo that talks about a couple other smaller changes that are being included as well, and then a red line version of the ordinances. So unless there's questions, I wasn't planning to go through them individually.
All right. Any questions at all? Dave?
Well, not really a question. I mentioned this to Misty at Public Works. Nice if they'd update their flow chart so that flow chart for what to use for different different situations. So you don't have to read through all of these. You know, the flow chart would guide you maybe.
All right, Jim.
Misty, I asked you this in finance, and I'll ask it again. Do we have the systems in place to accurately monitor and manage grants thus far?
So we are doing our best. So after this is approved, assuming your approval is awarded, I need to work with the IT department to fix or to add fields to our pre-approval form to show that all of these things are documented. But I'll say it is an extra layer of work that needs to make sure that we are following. There's no such thing as free money when it comes to the federal government, and there's a lot of strings attached that we need to make sure that we're following. So it is a big lift for the departments that are applying mostly, but then also the finance department as well to be that double check.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring that point up, as you know, we always say, well, we're going to pay for it with grants, and that there's still a cost, either to our employees or to our systems.
All right, not seeing anything else. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay? All right. And a sneeze, yes, that's first. All right, that's approved. Before we move on to personnel, though, we really should extend the meeting a half an hour. I don't think we're going to get through this in 8 minutes.
So move.
Second.
I'll move to extend.
Seconded by Randy. All in favor of extending a half an hour, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay?
Nay.
That passes anyway. All right. Personnel, is there anything for personnel, Gabriella?
We next meet on June 7th at 4 p.m.
All right, public safety, anything, Dave?
We had 5 new operators licenses and a large amount of activities planned coming up. It was probably, what were there, Jay and Shannon, like 10 different activities, amplified music, a lot of things coming up. And Festa Italia will be back again this year, 4th, 5th, and 6th of June.
All right, thank you. Chad, do you want to do your administrator's report now quick?
Sure, I will try to breeze through this. I have a fair number of items. Some announcements in regards to some meetings and other events in the city. There is a transit meeting that has been scheduled in regards to the feedback we got at the Town of Madison Public Information meeting a couple of weeks ago. So that meeting will be tomorrow night. City representatives and representatives from Madison Metro will be there in attendance. It is 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Doxa Church at 2700 Novation Parkway. The Senior Center is hosting a COVID booster clinic. It's open to everyone from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Friday. The city's Memorial Day observance ceremony will be taking place again on Memorial Day. I'll also share another reminder of that at our meeting in 2 weeks. The Kids Building Wisconsin event is this Saturday at McKee Farms Park. That also typically has a large attendance there. So if you see some traffic in that particular part of town, that is why. The city recently held a pop-up flower bouquet sale with the proceeds of the bouquet sales going to Domestic Abuse Intervention Services. Staff bought enough flowers to donate $400 to Days. And then we've had a number of hires in the last month or so. I'm going to do a real quick rundown of this, starting with Zach Jones having been hired as the associate planner. He started a couple of weeks ago in the planning department. The engineering department has filled a number of its vacancies. Ryan Stenham will be the new part-time environmental engineer. He starts next week. Ben Schulte will be the new full-time environmental engineer. He starts in 2 weeks. We have a new engineering technician named Aaron Rowland. He is filling the position that was vacated by Dakota Dorn, who moved into the GIS coordinator role. He starts in 3 weeks. We have 3 new engineering interns beginning as well in the next 3 weeks. And Anna Bijak, who is a past transportation engineer for the city for about 13 years, has been selected and accepted the offer to become the Assistant Director of Public Works, and she will start June 21st. The police department has hired 6 new police officers in their recent processes. They will be doing a formal swearing in and badge pinning ceremony here in the Francis Huntley Cooper Council Chambers on Monday, May 23rd at 1 p.m. All are invited. 2 new career firefighters will be offered a position later this month. And Fact TV's production assistant Andrew Bamlett is transferring from Fact TV to work as a full-time streets maintenance worker as well. And then our groundskeepers are coming back for the summer, our City Hall campus groundskeepers. So we're happy to have them back. They do a great job in keeping our campus well landscaped and maintained during the summer months. And then finally, we continue to recruit for a few remaining summer seasonal openings in our Parks and Rec department. Our deputy city assessor position, believe it or not, even with 6 new hires, there is still a process going on for police officer and also a community service liaison officer.
All right.
That's all I have. Any questions?
Julia?
For the police officer, they are replacement those or they are new because I don't. We approved 2 new positions in the budget, but the rest are replacement.
Yep, replacements for either retirements or other resignations or vacancies.
Okay.
All right, seeing nothing else, I just have a few quick things. One, I sent this email out, but for the public, we usually cancel one of the summer meetings, and we've been doing our first meeting in July the last few years, so we are going to cancel the first council meeting in July again this year. Enables staff to not have to try and put packets and stuff together during 4th of July week when a lot of people are gone anyway. So just put that on your calendars. And then the other meeting thing is, it was brought up earlier today by Tracy, our November 8th meeting, which is actually when we actually hopefully approve the budget. That's actually election night, and so she wouldn't be able to be here on November 8th. And so we're thinking of bumping up our meeting to November 1st instead so that Tracy can be here because that ends up being a long night anyway. And so we'll send out something more specifically on that, but we thought it made sense just because that's when we approve budget. It's a long night. Tracy is very, very helpful during that. There's a lot of roll calls and things like that. We're looking at bumping that a week earlier than typical, so it'd be November 1st. Chad?
And while I don't anticipate that this would happen, if we have it November 1st, that does give us an additional option in the event council is unable to pass a budget on November 1st. We could meet on November 15th if necessary. I'm going to assume that won't be necessary, but we thought we would at least build it in.
Okay. But my question is, we will have enough time for elders to propose amendment and all of that?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the process is all the same. Still have plenty of time for amendments. Absolutely, yeah.
I checked with our finance director, and she was comfortable with November 1st as well with the timing that could be proposed.
And then the last thing, you may have noticed that there's some green lights out on City Hall, and that is for Mental Health Awareness Month. We started doing this for a few different things, for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And, mental health is such a key thing. We've seen that especially during the pandemic and want to just kind of shed some light, if you will, on that. And that's all I have. So we'll go to all the reports and start with District 1. Dave?
No updates.
All right. Joe?
Yeah, Scott, can I share a screen? Sure. All right, so there is this interesting invention, thanks to actually a Fitchburg resident. There's a US, a QR code for Allied calendar. So the Allied Neighborhood Resource Team puts together sort of a series of ongoing events in the neighborhood. So there's anybody watching, if you hover your phone over the screen right now, you can access that link and you will be able to see what's going on in the neighborhood consistently. Did I, oh, you want me to put it back up, Jim? Too slow, man. Okay. Hey. You're old school.
All right.
All right. And then couple other updates. I mentioned the bike ride next week through the King James neighborhood on Tuesday, there's actually going to be interns from the Teen Center Engagement Study there, both at the park and at Redeemer City Church. So I encourage folks to be able to attend that. And then there will be a public workshop, and that will be on the 23rd, May 23rd, which is a Monday, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at Redeemer City Church as well. So strongly encourage the public to just check out what the interns and what Equity by Design has been up to. It's been an amazing process so far, and really just hats off to the inclusion of youth in the decision making from the beginning. So please attend if you're able to. That's all I've got.
All right, thank you. Julia.
The only thing that I want to mention is that you have been in McKee Farm Park, the inclusive playground, the equipment is installed. So there, it's great to see all the improvements, so it's coming along. So, and then I want to mention that Fiesta Italia is coming back to McKee Farm Park on June 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So this is a great event for the whole family. So, that's it.
All right, Gabriella.
No report.
All right, Jay.
There. I just have one thing, and that is when we had our meeting in the town of Madison a couple of weeks ago, the transit issues came up very, very loudly as an important issue for the residents living there, because the current Madison Metro proposed route moves the bus route from being in the neighborhood to being on Rimrock Road. And so some of the residents who live in the more densely populated area might end up a half mile to 3/4 of a mile away from what will be the only bus stop in that neighborhood. The city of Madison had a representative at that meeting also who transmitted this information to Metro. And so tomorrow night there is a meeting in the town of Madison for the residents there with Metro, and it's at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. And I hope that if you aren't able to get there, I hope that we will at least have it recorded so that people can view it, because this is a big need for our soon-to-be future residents, and we need to help them the best we can. The meeting's going to be at 2700 Novation Parkway, which is in the Doxa Church area. So that was all I had.
All right, Shannon.
Nope.
All right, Jim.
Nothing to report.
Randy.
Nothing to report.
All right, so we can go to new business. Does someone want to make a motion for this first direct referral? Yeah, Randy, go ahead.
Motion to approve Resolution R-94-22, amending the adopted municipal ward plan.
Second.
Signed by Jay and Tracy. Do you want to speak to this, or Chad? Chad, speak to this. All right, go ahead, Jay.
So as you'll recall, we had our redistricting process last fall that was under a compressed timeline due to delays in census data. And then you may have been following the state contested map issues that went to Supreme Court, not only in Wisconsin, but if I recall correctly, also to the United States Supreme Court, which was kicked back to Wisconsin. But ultimately, the maps that were approved at this point in time caused 2 wards to be split. We're not allowed to have wards that are split by statewide districts. Those wards that were split are in District 4, which required us to create 2 additional wards, Ward 20 and Ward 21. The district boundaries, or automatic district boundaries that were created as part of the redistricting process overall do not change. It's just those wards that were affected by that. So what you have in front of you now is the process that we're required to do in order to create those 2 wards to comply with our requirements at the state level, And this information also applies to your next item, in which we'll be updating the general ordinances to identify what the ward boundaries are.
So none of you represent anyone different than what originally planned. That's selfishly, I guess. What matters for you is you're still representing the same people. Any questions at all, Gabrielle?
Just a quick question. I thought the wards had to be even in population. Is that something we just can't do because of the change, or it's just we're just at a loss? Yeah, okay, that's kind of what I see a nod from Tracy.
Yeah. All right. Seeing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. You want to do this one too, Randy?
Yes, motion to approve ordinance 2022-0-18, updating wards and aldermanic districts by amending Fitchburg General Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Sections 2 through 21, 2 through 22, 2 through 49, 4, Section 4, 2 through 50B.
Second.
Sent by Jay, and this kind of same thing is just having to make everything kosher with the final maps that's done on the statewide level. See no questions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That's approved. This is a finance one. Randy, go ahead.
Motion to approve Resolution R-95-22, establishing the Catholic Multicultural Center as Aldermanic District Number 1 polling location for 2022.
Second.
Sent by Jay to finance proof.
Finance approved.
All right, and this is, so Little John's, unfortunately with the remodeling, cannot host the polling location for us, and so we have to move it. And unfortunately, our old fire station isn't ready yet. The remodeling is still happening. Long term, I think that's really kind of the plan, but for this fall anyway, we're going to use this Catholic Multicultural Center. Any questions at all? Joe?
Yeah, I could just speak to, thank you to Tracy and her team for kind of exploring alternatives and, while it's not ideal to switch it up again, I know that causes a lot of confusion. We have had this place for 2 years. At least the place that we have is, 3 or 4 doors down and not something that's terribly out of the way for people. And we were able to negotiate the cost down because they usually charge the city of Madison a lot more than they're going to charge us.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Little John's, for helping us out for the past couple of years, too. Seeing nothing else, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. That looks like another finance one, Randy.
Yeah, motion to approve Resolution R-98-22, amending the 2022 general fund budget. Parks LTE staff.
Second.
Sent by Jay. Do you want to speak to this? Or did finance approve, I should say? All right. Do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I guess.
Can't, I don't know if Scott's on.
I can cover
Chad
it.
can do it.
No, I can't as well.
He's in the dark.
Now he's in the dark.
I am here, though.
We only got,
I might be in the dark.
we've only
but
got
I'm
20
here.
minutes. I'm not extending this again.
No. This is just, if I may.
Yeah.
Yep, just a strategy. Certainly kudos to the mayor for direct referring this and Misty and Sarah and Mr. Breckland to help us try and we're always in the recruitment stage for seasonal park maintenance staff. So increase of a wage is really going to provide an additional recruiting tool for us. So we appreciate all the efforts in trying to get really the lifeblood of our summer crew is our seasonals. That kind of doubles our workforce. So,
Chad, do you want anything? All right. Randy?
I just want to add that it's on top, if he didn't already, it's on top of the $500 additional bonus as well, the signing bonus. So
I know we're having a hard time getting people for these positions.
Exactly.
So, all right. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. And Public Works.
I'll move approval resolution R-10722, accepting subdivision improvements in the plat of 6th addition to 9 Springs.
Second.
Sent by Jay to Public Works approved.
Public Works approved.
Anyway, do you want to speak to it?
We had an emergency meeting tonight on this one. The developer asked us to get this approved to avoid a month delay in their occupancy. They would like to start occupancy this Friday. So we met special to approve this. There was a little miscommunication, I think, between the developer and the city regarding the multi-use path approval. The path has been installed, and we will be seeing a future amendment on this, asking for an additional warranty. But again, we held a special assessment or special meeting tonight so they could get their occupancy permits by Friday of this week. And everything has been approved in this subdivision.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, there's a path that they didn't get the inspection from the city on, and so we're making them giving us a longer warranty on that path.
Yes, it is installed.
Yep, they installed it and forgot to get the okay from us. So
It's a good thing we're doing this because I'm moving into one of those buildings.
there you go, you got a path. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. Next meeting is a couple of weeks. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Jay, second by Joe. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, we're adjourned.